I gotta finish my last communications.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's interesting is I got a 60-second buffer on here, so we should have a good stream, right? So it should be pretty high quality, and it's public, which is good news. So that's great.
Public? What was not
before it was unlisted? So
you had to type in, like, you'd have to know the exact address.
Yeah. It's just like it wasn't even there. But anyway, I think we're pretty good. You need water or anything? Oh, you got a water there.
Water.
There's caffeinated beverages. There's coffee. I know you don't drink coffee.
Is this yours?
Oh, go for it.
I'll put it over here just in case.
You can get out of the success fridge. I think we're. Oh shit.
Alright.
Let it be known. I always get this backwards. Media. Yeah. I don't know for sure show. The I don't know for sure show is live. Live on the internet. We're not recording technically.
But people can watch.
But people can watch if they so choose. Alright. So. You ready?
I'm ready, I guess.
I reckon. Check this out. I got a new camera.
Which one's new? That one?
Yep.
We got a dual angle there. The overall.
Oh, the overall. Okay, going live in 3, 2, 1.
It's almost overwhelming. There's cameras like
everywhere now.
Everywhere. Yeah.
We have Periscope. We have the live stream on YouTube right now.
Well, I must say this is the first time that I got here and you were pretty much
prepared,
ready to go.
In
like 2 minutes.
That's a first, isn't it?
It's a good thing I didn't hit traffic.
It's this iterative process of getting things dialed in, and it still takes a few minutes to kind of get things working. Like a dummy. Hold on.
Something not working.
Yep. Like a dummy, I got something that's about to die.
Oh, you got a battery. You got to plug that in.
I got a battery failure coming up.
You should have your coffee cup that has your face on it. I like that one.
Yeah, I will have to do that at some point.
I'm going to have to get a coffee cup with your face on it.
Damn it, we need a technician.
Whose face is on it?
Me.
Oh, Neil. Is that Neil Offerman? Nick Offerman?
Nick Offerman
from...
He went to New York and brought back that coffee cup. Alright, did that fix it? Yeah.
All right.
This is what happens when you're a do-it-yourselfer.
I was just trying to brag on you, too.
I know, talking all that shit.
Yeah.
Talking all that shit, but we're good. We're not going to lose any cameras. We're good.
All right.
Yeah, man. So, welcome back to, this is episode 7, I do believe.
Episode 7.
And, it's been a crazy week. Just got back from jury duty. And,
1/2 a day.
Learned something very, I learned a jury duty hack.
A real one?
Yeah. I think, this is how you get out of jury duty. I've discovered a couple things. I think you touched on it the first time, or the first way of getting out of it. You touched on it a little bit.
Okay.
By just not going the first time, because you can get out of it one time.
So yeah, that's what I did here several months back when I was supposed to go.
Yeah.
I was it was gonna be the time I did my AMJ exam originally. I just pushed it off, and then I broke my foot, and then the next time came up, and I was like, "Nah, I'm not gonna go.
Not gonna go."
I didn't even send anything in. I failed at my civic duty.
Yeah, what's up with that, man?
Yeah.
So check this out. So the first time I forgot to go. I got the jury summons. And
you just didn't go at all?
I just didn't go. I spaced it. I put the thing away.
You failed.
And it worked out in my favor because the second time around I called and they had dismissed it. So the dude, whoever was like going to jail, is like a criminal case, plead or something.
Okay.
So took a plea deal and it got dismissed, right?
So you never had to go in.
Yeah.
The first time.
So the thing is okay, if you're gonna get jury duty, the night before you're supposed to call to check and see if anything's happened, right? Anything's changed. If you know you're going, if you know you have to go, the first thing you do is don't go. right?
Yeah.
Nobody's going to you're not going to go to jail for that, right?
Yeah.
So you play stupid, and they'll send you another jury summons. That's the one you have to go to, right?
Yeah.
So you go to that one, right? And you do the same process. You call and probably have to go or something. You show up, and this is what they did in Monterey County. It's smaller than like Salinas. I don't know if you're familiar with Salinas, man, but it's huge, right? Yeah. So the Monterey County one, or the Monterey one, there's like a couple hundred. There's like 100 people. There's like 100 people, and they take 18 people at a time, and they sit them in the little jury box.
Yeah,
and then they grill you, right? So you start off with like 15 questions, and then the lawyers get a chance to kind of grill you a little bit, right? And what I noticed was if there's any conflict of interest, like a relative, any just hesitation that there may be some bias, it doesn't have to be prejudicial or anything. You don't have to be racist or anything to get out of it.
Like if you have some personal connection with somebody.
Not even that. It's like the case that they were going to talk about today was a workman's comp case. You know, it's like some dude fucking hurt himself in somebody's building and he's trying to sue the building owner, right? So, the first question, like the lawyers start asking questions. They're like, is anybody here a landlord? You know, does anybody run any real estate, or have they had any contractual tenant landlord, disagreements or anything of that nature? And in the moment you start to raise any objections to any of this stuff, or you just start questioning some of the things, that's like a red flag for one side or the other, either the plaintiff or the defendant, right? And the judge is like, he's like, are you going to the best of your ability, are you going to be able to put all your prejudices aside and make it, be a fair, make, and of course you're going to say yes. But the lawyers themselves are going to be like, okay, this guy, obviously he's had issues in the past with somebody or something. He's not a good fit. And I watched that happen like the very first time with somebody that went to like a psychologist, because the dude supposedly had some mental trauma, some brain trauma, and so that kind of tied in.
He got hurt?
He got hurt somehow. Not physically. Like physically he's fine. But
he was mentally distressed.
But he's got psychological problems now. He's got traumatic brain injury, or he's got some kind of brain injury.
But not for physical, not a physical injury.
Yeah, you can't see.
He's just emotionally scarred.
He didn't walk in with a cast on or anything, or a neck brace or anything. But I thought, wow, that's kind of interesting. It's pretty easy to get out of this if you just talk out loud about objections. Find something that's quite common in what they're disagreeing on or agreeing on.
Yeah.
And if they feel that you're swaying to one side or another, they'll kick you out. So that I got out of it pretty quick as soon as I noticed that. I wasn't trying to be smart. I was just.
So what'd you say? What was your excuse?
Well, for one, so they asked me, or they asked anybody if anybody had any landlord issues or anything, and I was like, oh, I got some. I feel the state of California protects tenants more than they protect the landlords. Yeah. It's like you could stop paying your rent and just squat in a house for 18 months until the landlord loses it, and finally the sheriff comes and kicks you out. That's not fair. And so that was kind of my argument. And then he goes, well, can you judge, can you make a decision on this case that's not going to have any, bias on your feelings towards the law in this area? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Yeah. Right. But the plaintiff, which is the dude that's suing, the lady who's, owns the building, those lawyers like kicked me out like right away. Oh, yeah. So they're like, this guy's got to go. And it's probably a good thing, because when I walked out, I was thinking, part of me was thinking from that kind of that bias, where I'm like, this, part of me is like, I don't know anything about that case at all, right? I have no clue. They do that on purpose, because when you get in a situation like this and you're talking about stuff, you don't want anything to leak. But I was thinking, like, before, my opinion had already been kind of formed in a roundabout way, mainly because I know, like, my eyes start to roll with workman's comp cases.
Yeah. But you're a fair person. You probably would have.
The moment,
listened to.
Yeah, the moment the moment that the facts started rolling in, you know, I would definitely be rational about it.
So this was your first morning. You were just in and out.
Man, I was there for I was lucky enough to get the second. So 18 at a time, right? So they put the first 18 in, and then they go through and they start to disqualify people, right? Okay. People like me, for example, or people who just can't make it. You know, there's some people that had some medical conditions that were just like, okay, this, you know.
I mean, you could, when I had, last time I did jury duty, it was probably like 2 years ago, and it was in Santa Cruz. And it was kind of an interesting case. I wouldn't actually mind doing jury duty.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if it's something interesting, like real estate. Doesn't sound too good. Though. But the one I had was, it was a guy out of Watsonville, and he was like gang associated. Yeah, and it was an attempted murder charge.
Oh, Jesus.
He had fired a gun. We didn't know any of the details or anything really yet, but we knew that there was fired a gun. I don't think anybody had got hit, and there was like some other theft and drug charges on there as well. But we went in 4 days, and I was about ready to be selected as a backup juror.
Oh, okay.
Like it had gone down to that, and then everybody had an excuse why they wanted out.
Yeah.
So on the 4th or 5th day or whatever we were in there, somebody had mentioned like they had, you know, they're still talking to all the prospective jurors and asking questions, and somebody had mentioned something about, well, they looked it up online and they found out like this stuff about the case. Ooh. And the judge is like, I told you guys not to do that, and then everybody's like, no, you didn't. And he's like, who all here has looked up this guy online? And like half the people raised their hand. And
shit.
So the judge went back and had he had dismissed us all that day.
Yeah.
And I guess they went back and looked at all, you know how the people like take, what is it, stenographers, is that what they call them, who like types in everything.
Right.
So they went through that, and apparently the judge never said anything to it, to everybody. So he had to dismiss everybody.
No kidding.
They dismissed the whole jury. They had to redo it all.
That's, one thing I could admire about that system is how well first of all, they do a really good job communicating, you know, what it is that they want from people. At least in my case. Not in your case at all. But yeah, they're really literal about a lot of things. Yeah. And this guy, you know, he repeated that like 3 times, you know. But just the way the lawyers pre-qualified the jury. You know, I found that really fascinating, you know, because they're really trying to whittle you down and figure out, like, is this person going to be biased?
But you have lawyers on both sides, right?
Yeah.
So, and they can kind of choose.
They both,
So some of them probably want people that are biased.
Yeah.
In a certain way.
Yeah.
So that's what I wonder about, like what you're saying, how you just say, oh yeah, I side on this guy. Well, what if the other side picks you as a juror because of that?
Yeah, I think they have, each side has the opportunity to remove people.
So like you could select them, and I could be like, no, that guy, no, you get rid of him.
Yeah, well, if I was the defendant, like it's my you know, I'm working for a person, like I'm working for the lady who owns the building, right? Yeah. And I was there, like I'd probably be a good juror for the defendant, right? But they have no say if the plaintiff's lawyers kick me out. On the flip side, it's the same with the defendant. So the defendant lawyer sees somebody that's clearly biased towards the person that got injured.
Whatever,
because there were some nurses in there who deal with workman's comp people. There was there was a lot of smart people, physical therapists and stuff that were on this panel.
Yeah,
and they all work with people who get injured. And all of them said, it's like, I don't know if I could, I might be biased.
Yeah.
And I might hold a bias towards, or I might hold, I'll feel bad, they were like, I'd feel sorry for the injured person and probably give them some bias, and they got kicked off too.
Did they give you an idea how long they thought the trial would be?
Yeah, like 5 days. They said this is a streamlined, it's going to be pretty fast for a civil trial. It's going to be like 5 days.
Wow, they said ours could be 4 to 8 weeks.
That's brutal.
So I'm kind of glad I got dismissed.
Yeah, it's brutal, especially if I kind of think it's kind of a shitty deal. Yeah, honestly.
And the judge told it because a lot of people were coming in with with their already excuse, I can't afford it. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And the judge called everybody aside, or not everybody aside, but he called everybody and said, "Look, the financial excuses aren't going to work with me. He's like, it is your civil duty.
All this bullshit,
to save
right?
up and be prepared for something like this.
To save up and be prepared for fucking jury.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Fuck that guy. I hate that. That's the kind of shit that drives me crazy. It's super inconvenient. I think there should be it should be something that's there should be professional jurors.
Yeah.
I think there's plenty of people out there that could do this for a living.
But then then can you be bought? If it's like...
I think I could be bought, not me personally, but I think I could be bought if I was just a regular person on the side of on the street. But
see, then the idea of just your common peer representing you goes away. I feel like if you could just go hire some jurors.
Yeah, it is a double-edged kind of sword, in a lot of ways. But I was thinking, I mean, what if you're on trial? What if you're on trial for, hitting a cop? Who knows what situation occurred, but you hit a cop, and there's a cop sitting in the jury panel.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully my lawyer would dismiss the guy.
Yeah.
But
I'd be biased because I don't trust cops.
Yeah, I mean, we're all I was biased just for being there.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck, I hate this place. This is the closest I ever want to get to a courtroom.
Yeah.
And it's like you don't want to open your mouth because they have leverage over you, right? Yeah. So it's like this is the place where I could probably end up in jail just for speaking my opinion, which is silly. And and it's like they got a little plaque there that says, "Don't talk to the inmates. That's a misdemeanor."
Yeah. Misdemeanor.
It's a misdemeanor. It's a misdemeanor. So I kind of scoff at the whole idea anyway, because it's like there are plenty of people I think that are more, and I don't have the best solution to that problem, but it is super inconvenient. It puts a lot of people out. Especially if you do if you have one of those jobs, it's like if you're not there, you don't get paid.
Yeah.
You're fucked, man. And they don't seem to give a shit. Like most of those places, they don't care. But
well,
anyway,
you're free for 2 years.
Yeah, got out of it. I'm pretty happy about that. So the last time I got stuck on a case. So
you're free from like Monterey County for 2 years, but can you still be called up by the city? Because that's what they told us in Santa Cruz.
Wasn't the city in the inside the county?
Well, we could still go up to San Francisco, at least in Santa Cruz. That's what they told us. They go, you won't be called from Santa Cruz courts for at least 2 years, but you still could get summons from San Francisco.
No kidding. I had no idea that was the case.
When I moved out of Southern California, I got a jury summons to go in downtown L.A. And that was the first one I'd ever gotten like that. Because normally they've been right there in the Antelope Valley.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. But I was moving, so got out of that one.
Yeah, it's like, what are you going to do? It's like, I don't live here anymore.
I've only actually had to go to one. And that was this one like 2 years ago.
Oh, really? Oh, man. Yeah, anyway, glad it's over. But,
so what else have you done this week?
Man, trucking along. Trucking away at, chopping away at some, we're like a December 5th, December 6th, so everything's starting to kind of come to a slowdown, at work, in the world.
Everybody's preparing for the holiday.
Yeah, so grinding away. I've just been spending a lot of time, I like to watch documentaries, I've been, interesting thing, I've been studying, so here's an interesting thing. I've been getting frustrated a lot lately. I don't know I don't know what it is, right? Maybe it's the season.
Is it lately? Don't you always get frustrated?
Well, I'm starting to acknowledge these little triggers, these things that are triggering me.
Yeah.
Before I just deal with it, or I'd avoid stuff, but I'm starting to get frustrated. Like there's no reason for me to get home. Like I shouldn't come home, get relaxed, and then be frustrated by stuff. You know
what it is?
What is it?
I've been like this too lately.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, and my excuse is it's got to be my broken foot.
Yeah.
Because I'm just pissed off. I can't be doing the things I want to do. But you know what? It might be, since it's happening to you. Maybe we're just getting old.
It could be.
We're just becoming those grumpy old bastards.
We're becoming fucking assholes, man. So I wouldn't say it's been a problem, but it's been kind of dwelling on me a little bit because I don't like being in that state of mind.
Yeah.
And so the first thing I've been doing, is I'm acknowledging it first. I'm just like, okay, you're calm down, and what is it that caused this, right? And technology, here I am surrounded by it, right? The things that I love the most are the things that are triggering me.
Well, technology pisses everybody off.
Yeah.
Especially when you got like 6 cameras.
And it feels like it's getting more and more complicated. It's not that it's supposed to be getting easier, but I'm thinking maybe my brain is losing its edge,
them
with the
kids
tech.
are figuring everything out.
It's nuts. Passwords really piss me off, mainly because a lot of websites have different passwords, and they all require different password type.
You must have one capital letter and an exclamation point and at least 4 numbers.
Yeah. So every time I try to like log into my my insurance account or my American Express or something, I'm like, fuck, and it takes me to another level, like where my where there's brain chemicals being dumped. It's not a very positive experience. And so I'm like, okay, how do I deal with this? And so I stumbled. It's funny because I stumbled on Wim Hof. Have you heard of Wim Hof, the Iceman?
I've heard of the Iceman, but I don't know if it's the same
probably
one.
not the same one.
Yeah.
Not
the serial killer.
Not the serial killer. Not the UFC fighter.
Chuck Liddell.
Chuck Liddell. Yeah, Chuck Liddell. No, Wim Hof. I think he's he's from the Netherlands, or he's from. I want to say
somewhere cold.
And he's got these breathing techniques, like these insane breathing techniques. Like he holds like 25, 26 world records for doing crazy shit, like running up Kilimanjaro in his underwear and swimming in the Antarctic under ice for like 180 meters
and
80 meters.
Breathing techniques.
Yeah, and he all claims that it has to do with these breathing techniques, right? And he's making his rounds in all the major podcasts. So, the one I caught, he's been on Joe Rogan's show like a couple of times, and I never really thought anything of it. I was just like, oh, this is fascinating. It's neat because he's doing all these like extraordinary human feats without, and he's all saying it's all this breathing stuff, It
sounds kind of like David Blaine.
Yeah, kind of.
Kind of do the same type of stuff.
Yeah, and I have a huge respect for David Blaine too, because I've watched a couple of his documentaries. His TED Talk was amazing.
I haven't seen.
He did an amazing TED Talk, and that's where I was like, okay, he's got credibility now. Like before, I thought he was just a magician.
A musician.
I wanted to say musician, but yeah, whatever, magician, right? I watched the TED Talk and I was like, wow, this guy's like, he's not doing just magic. He's doing mind over matter stuff. Like he's getting into like states.
He trains supposedly, for months to learn how. He held his breath underwater for like 25 minutes.
Yeah. He was talking about that in his TED Talk about how he went through that process and how he had to, who he sought out to kind of learn the skills and things that he needed to do. Yeah. So same shit, right?
I still wonder if there's a trick behind it. It's hard for me to believe that that's even humanly possible.
Yeah. Well, watch the TED Talk. The TED Talk's really good. And anyway, Wim Hof has got like a course and he teaches all this breathing stuff. And he was doing this. You know who Lewis Howes is?
Nope.
Okay. You know who Laird Hamilton is?
I've heard of that guy.
Okay, so Laird Hamilton's like a big wave surfer in Hawaii. He's gonna be he's already a legend, right? And he's not dead yet. He's just he's gonna be a legendary like Hall of Famer, rides the biggest waves on the planet, just a crazy waterman. And he was talking about Wim Hof, how he was learning how to do this breathing, right? And so Lewis Howes is like he's an internet guy, got real famous. Well, I think he played a lot of sports. He was like an NFL football player for a little while. Here we go. I don't know for sure. Shooting from the hip, loose facts, right?
Breathing techniques.
Anyway, yeah. So Lewis Howes interviews Laird Hamilton, and Laird is talking about Wim Hof, and then I'm listening to this conversation, and I'm like, wow, this sounds amazing, right? All this credibility is just like coming from everywhere. All these people that I admire and I watch and coming from everywhere. And then so Lewis Howes, fast forward, I watched like not the documentary, but the podcast of Lewis Howes and Wim Hof, and the Wim is like teaching Lewis this technique. And so I started doing it. I was just laying in bed and just kind of watching and doing it. And it's like you breathe in and out, this circular breathing, just kind of get this rhythm going. And you've done guided meditations, right? Where they have you do some breaths, some breathing.
Breath.
Now imagine doing that, but doing that for like an hour straight. and really just kind of push in your body with the breathing to the point where you're about to hyperventilate.
So are you like inhaling to full capacity?
Yeah.
And then holding?
Yeah. So he has in the Lewis Howes one, he has Lewis like laying on his couch. Lewis is like breathing, he's doing these exercises, and then he has him exhale. What he's doing is like oxygenating his body, like hardcore, way more than you do like in a guided meditation, way more than we do normally.
Now, is this relaxing at all, or is this something you're like?
It's well, with Laird Hamilton, it's not so much relaxing. With the Wim Hof version, it's pretty relaxing, right? Because he's working, and I'm trying this too. I'm doing this too, and my body's doing everything it can to fight it, right? It's almost like it's too much. It's uncomfortable, right? But like a lot of things, once you kind of break through that threshold, your body starts to accept it.
Yeah.
It's similar to like working out when you're kind of cold. It's like getting started is a little hard.
So you could work out from the comfort of your bed.
Yeah, you could work out from the comfort of your own bed and burn calories and lose weight. No, I don't know.
I'm gonna write a book on that.
Yeah, it's neat, but my body's like tingling and it's fighting it, and then all of a sudden, I start to kind of get into it, right? And the whole Wim Hof thing was like he has Lewis Howes like blow all the air out of his body or out of his lungs, and then hold his breath, right? So literally, it's like he exhausted all the air in his lungs, and he was able to hold his breath longer than he could prior to the breathing exercise when he had air in his lungs.
With no air.
With no air, yeah. It was almost like he was like he had oxygenated his blood to like a new level.
Okay.
And not only that, his body wasn't working hard to breathe or hold it in, so he was just kind of like relaxed. And he ended up holding his breath for like 3 minutes for the very first time. It was like really fascinating. But I did it, and immediately my mood changed. That was kind of like the big thing. Big thing was like, wow, I feel like there's some solace here. Like this is comfortable.
Could it be a placebo effect, you think? Or do you think there's something...
could be.
Actually...
I think there's something going on there. I mean, when you breathe in deep and that's generally relaxing anyway. When you're... that's why all meditations start with, take a deep breath. Yeah, release.
Hold.
Release. Yeah, I think the big thing is it's a meditation, right? Because you can't help but focus your awareness on breathing. Especially when you're trying to keep it up.
Yeah.
You can't just daydream like you do normally in meditation if you're pretty new to it. It's really easy to kind of go off on a tangent. But with this exercise, this technique, it's like you're focused on the here and the now, the present. And it's really powerful, if you ask me. So I've been working on that. I think I'm going to buy the course. He's got a little course.
So what's the end goal of this?
It's health, I think.
So, I mean, it's not just to be able to hold your breath for 3 minutes or 2 minutes,
I think you just incorporate this into your life, like a daily thing, like anything else.
So is it something you spend like an hour at night laying in bed just breathing? Or?
Yeah, like, I'd probably do it as much as I can anywhere, right? So if I'm at work sitting at my desk, for example, I could take like a 15-minute, let's just get this going,
Yeah. And you're just focusing on a different rhythm.
Yeah. Well, it's just kind of like this circular breathing. That's like the first stage, but...
you have to buy the course to find out the second stage.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out what the second stage is. But, I'm kind of excited about that because, one, there was some results there. Number two, you got guys like world-class surfers like Laird Hamilton doing it. And, that guy Wim Hof's got 26 world records and he attributes it all to this.
Kilimanjaro in his undies.
Dude, he's taking injured people up there. He's taking blind people up there. He's taking he's taking all kinds of. He's a crazy dude. Interesting character. Really interesting character.
Wim Hof.
He's like a Dutchman or something. Really like it. But here's another thing I've been doing. I pulled up GarageBand on my computer for the first time ever, which is hilarious because. For some reason, I stopped recording music like years ago, right? And you remember this room was like a recording studio.
This room has gone through many iterations.
And this room was, this room had a lot of equipment and a lot of hardware. And for some reason in my brain, I've been irking to do some recording, right? I'm back in that cycle again. I'm really back in that cycle of making music. And I kept telling myself, I was like, I need to buy some equipment to do it. And I forgot that GarageBand was on my computer, and I never used it. And so I pop open like GarageBand, and then I'm like, whoa, this is so cool, right? So I just start making music, and it's not it's just an exercise in creativity, really. The goal is just to. The more I focus on my creative endeavors, the more I can exercise that part of my brain, the more I can apply. My brain just works better. Yeah. It works better everywhere.
Well, it's a creative outlet.
It's a creative outlet, and I feel good. Yeah. Anytime I have a question, a problem, I jump into there and just start.
Do you need breathing exercises, or can you just make some music?
Both. I think both. I think it's all it's synergistic.
They all make you feel better.
They all make me feel better. I think that's the point. Is finding the things that kind of keep you happy and keep you moving forward, making progress. But the funny thing is have you seen any of those masterclass advertisements like on Facebook and stuff?
Masterclass.
I think it's masterclass where they teach where some world class directors or documentarians or musicians.
I've seen stuff like Expert City and similar things like that.
Yeah, like
where you could pay someone who knows a lot about something to talk about it.
Like Kevin Spacey had put out one on acting.
Yeah,
and Werner Herzog put out one on like becoming a documentarian. You listen to any digital music, like electronic music, any electronic music?
Digital. I like the analog stuff.
Yeah, I only listen to records.
Yeah. I used to. I don't much anymore. I mean, I have a few albums that I listen to.
So I got some more coffee going. I'm all charged up.
That explains it.
All charged up. I like Dead Mouse. You know who Dead Mouse is?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of
for a while I thought that was Dead Mouse 5. I was like, what is this? I never heard it. I just saw it.
It's music for the kids.
Yeah. That's what the kids are listening to.
That's what the kids are listening to.
Us grumpy old people.
So when I'm working on my laptop, I tend to gravitate towards that kind of music.
Yeah.
And so I run like a YouTube channel in the background, with like a YouTube mix of Dead Mouse. And so I do that. I'm about to load up Dead Mouse on my browser, and I just got done playing with GarageBand, and up pops this masterclass with Dead Mouse, like the advertisement that they insert in before the video you watch. And it had to be like the absolute best advertisement I've ever come across.
How so?
Well, one, I admire Dead Mouse, right? So there's another authority figure that I can kind of admire. And the way he communicated music, right? Like the way he just thought about I don't know, the message was really good.
So it was him talking on the
Yeah, because it's his course. Like he's putting it out, right?
Where are you seeing this advertisement? Was it geared toward you? Like when I go on Facebook, I see climbing gear advertisements.
Yeah. So they kind of repixel, wherever you're going, they kind of follow you around the internet, And the advertisers,
Zuckerberg.
They the marketer. God damn it, Zuckerberg and your retargeting advertisements. The very first time I seen that ad, I whipped out my credit card and I bought his course for $97.
It worked.
It's not even done yet.
It worked.
Yeah. He's teaching his music, his form of I think they call it EDM or something.
Yeah.
And
so is that the kind of music you're playing with right now on GarageBand?
Yeah. I started playing I was strumming some guitar, right? Because I have a USB microphone and I'm coming up with some tunes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not happy. But then I was like, well, let's just make some let's get a beat going, let's get a groove going, let's get some shit going, and let's just be creative and not try to think about making the perfect hit song.
Yeah.
Because I think that's where my brain tends to go a lot.
Perfectionist.
I throw it out the window immediately. Yeah. And then when it's all said and done, you spent 3 hours and created nothing, So the new exercise is just, and it's a big lesson too in anything. The exercise now is, just get something done. It doesn't have to be good. You don't start with the song and try to build everything up in the introduction and then have nothing left, right? Because you're going to burn out. So just try to get to try to
just do something.
Just get something out to 3 or 4 minutes so it's like a normal song, and then build the song out. And that's been a hard exercise, but it's getting better and better. But I've been having a lot of fun with that. It's been a very good. It's been a good pressure valve, you know, for a lot of things.
So we're going to get some sweet original intro music here?
Yeah, pretty soon. It's going to be great. It's going to be the groove. Right. And then I'm going to hold down. That's right. And I'm going to hold down the button, and then it's just going to play some, you know, it's just going to play some, like, 4 chords.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But I'm having fun with it, man. It's good wintertime stuff. I think that's probably what it is.
I've been playing my guitar quite a bit the last couple of weeks. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
But I try to learn songs, you know, like covers and stuff. But I'll sit there and I'll listen to it until I hate it almost to learn something. You know?
That's so good though. I mean, it takes a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the big thing. Is it takes way more work than most people.
Like I hear a song, I'm like, that'd be a fun one to play. So I get out my guitar and I'm like, yeah, okay, I could get this one, and I'll just put it on repeat and listen to it over and over again, and I'll play it over and over again. And by the time like a few days, I'm like, oh gosh, I hate that song.
Oh man, but it works.
It works.
It just depends on how hungry you are to learn that shit. Here's my problem. Here's the problem I have with music, and this is a personal problem. I'll break out my guitar. And I'll start singing and playing, and I'll think, hey, this sounds pretty good. And then I'll record it, and I'll come back and listen to it, and I'm like, wow, that's fucking awful.
Yeah.
So there's a huge disconnect between the way my brain perceives the music versus what the music really is.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the hardest part, and that's why I think that's my biggest frustration with music.
Yeah.
Because to me, it sounds good when I'm doing it. Like, it sounds like I'm in key, I'm in tune, and I'm playing along, and it sounds great. But then you come back to listen to it, and you're like, this is fucking shit.
As long as you're having fun doing it.
Yeah,
it's not like you're trying to go out there and play shows. And
but I always try to. That's how I always approach it, though.
Well, yeah, I mean, me too.
And that's probably one of the lessons, right?
Yeah.
One of the lessons is maybe you should not think of it more of like a creative outlet that's there for the benefit of your mind, as opposed to a benefit for your wallet.
Yeah.
Because even some of the best musicians can't make any money.
I was looking at my phone today because I have past recordings from probably like my last several phones that just get saved up, you know, and then to my voice memos. But every time I like learn a song I want to hear how it sounds, I'll record it on there.
Yeah.
And I was listening to some on there today from like 3 years ago. And yet, like you said, you hear them and you're like, on one hand, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot I played this song. I gotta learn it again.
Yeah.
I'm like, shit, that sounds terrible. It's like as soon as I hear my voice on the thing, I'm like, shut it off.
And I think that's another thing that's another big thing about singing and playing is that, I don't know about you, but I tend to underestimate the amount of work it is required to get it to a level where it's tolerable.
Yeah.
Some serious practice goes into that. We're talking.
That's what I'm saying. That's why you end up like hating, not hating, really, but you just get sick of hearing it and get sick of playing it, and that's what it takes for me.
Yeah, me
to
too.
Be half decent at it.
Yeah, and I think that's. I think a lot of. I don't know about other people, but I get this feeling this sense that I should be able to knock this out pretty quick.
Yeah, but who could just come up and play a song and play it perfect like the first time? I mean, there's people out there like that.
Well, I was under the impression that a lot of people could.
Yeah,
I'll be honest with you, because I mean, I don't hang out with other musicians, right?
Yeah.
And like if you and I were to hang out with a world class musician, like he was our friend, like say our buddy Marshall, right? Marshall has that potential, I think.
Yeah.
Marshall always seemed to come off like a natural talent that could just knock shit out.
Yeah, he could.
He could hear it and he'd be like, okay, and he'd jam it out. You hear stories of people like that,
He's the type of guy you always feel like a better musician when you're playing with him.
Yeah.
Because he can just fill in whatever you're
He'll
missing.
He'll just take care of you. Yeah. It's so weird. So when I think that's the problem, is that was where the bar has always been,
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh gosh, probably, it should be like that because that's what other people are doing.
Yeah.
It's like some people are just way more book smart than others too. They can read something, comprehend it, like the first time around, right?
Yeah.
Others, I'm a good example, is I got to read it like fucking 8 times before it starts to sink in.
Well, everybody has their way.
Yeah.
No right or no wrong.
I wish there was an easier way.
No wrong.
There's no shortcuts. That's the big moral in life. There's no shortcuts.
Blood, sweat, and tears.
Blood, sweat, and tears. Yeah. So how's the foot going?
It's going better. I'm out of the boot most of the time now, kind of limping around.
Oh, that's good news, man.
But I got a little bit of a gangster swagger now.
I told my buddy about your foot. He's an orthopedic surgeon, and unfortunately the news isn't good for an injury like that.
Yeah.
He's like, once you shatter that bone, the calcaneus, right?
Yeah, calcaneus.
It'll never be the same. He said.
Yeah, my foot is definitely pretty crooked.
You got a little crooked foot,
so it kind of rolls over when I step. But supposedly I could somehow get those muscles
working
to where I'm not limping too much.
And you know what though? And another thing too is my buddy's wrong on a lot of things. So I wouldn't hold that against you.
Well, the thing about the way I broke my bone is according to what the doctor told me, like more than 95% of calcaneal fractures come from the bottom. Like somebody falling and it hits and like shatters from the bottom up. In my case, it was a side impact.
Okay.
Which is very little doctors have practiced in that. I mean, I'm speaking from, this is what my doctor told me.
Yeah.
Because it's just so rare, hitting it on the side.
Yeah.
So everything they've told me has kind of, all the deadlines have passed. They're like, usually 8 to 10 weeks, probably be walking again. And I think I took my first steps without a crutch in like 17, 18 weeks.
So you think it's actually worse than normal?
I don't know. I mean, that's just what they said. Because I've seen the deadlines pass, so it seems like,
Okay.
I don't know if it's that or if it's the fact that my foot is crooked. Because my heel feels like it's healed.
Yeah.
It's not, I could, touch it, move it around and everything like that.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that it goes, and you can see it if you look at the back of my foot, it's crooked a little bit.
They just did a shitty job putting it back together, huh?
I don't know,
It's I'm sure they did the best they could.
Yeah.
It could have been dead for all.
Well, the thing that's weird to me is when they put the pin, like the surgeon who was supposed to do it was on vacation or on holiday.
Classic, right? I've heard that story more than once.
Yeah, right? So I get like another surgeon who comes in, puts pins in, and she tells me these are going to be here until like 3 days from now, until this surgeon gets back. And he's going to come out and then do something more permanent.
I see.
So when he comes back, he x-rays my foot, looks at it, and he's like, she did a good job putting those in. We're just going to leave those in for a couple months. So I don't know if it was like,
he's like lazy.
They don't want to do it, or who really knows?
Yeah,
I can't really. At this point, I gotta live with it. I can't really go back and get pissed off about it.
Yeah, it does nobody any good.
Yeah, but it is frustrating. I want a straight foot.
Yeah,
I want to be able to climb.
Sure.
The good thing is I don't think it's going to affect once the muscles and everything are built back up.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to affect my climbing too much.
Oh, that's good.
I hope.
Yeah.
But what I think it will affect is my ability to get to the climbs.
Oh.
Like hiking and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Hopefully not. But I've had the most improvement in the last 2 weeks than I have in the previous 4 months.
Oh, yeah.
Just from like going from step to step, I guess. Getting there.
Yeah, man. It seems like one of those things that you don't know what's going to happen until that shit happens.
Yeah.
Until you just get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hard injury.
Yeah, so I got another month of physical therapy, and I got to go see some guy in Scotts Valley. It's, what are they called? What's it called if you have a amputee?
Orthopedic guy? Or
no, I'm drawing a blank on it. It's prosthetic. Prosthetic. I don't know why I can't think of that. So I got to go see a place in Scotts Valley called like Prosthetics Plus, but they're going to make some sort of insert for my shoe to try to make that foot.
So over time they can adjust it.
So I don't know the thing is I don't know if it's adjusting it or just making it so the weight will be distributed more evenly.
I see. I was thinking like Forrest Gump as a child. When Forrest Gump was a kid, they would just kind of keep tightening down on the braces.
Oh yeah.
Trying to straighten his legs out.
Yeah, I should get some like screw in the side of my shoe.
Just keep slowly, like over a year or so, you get it back in place. Yeah. Eventually, ultimately.
I mean, when I go to physical therapy, she literally like grabs my foot for like 15 minutes and just kind of bends it,
cranks on that shit.
Yeah, I'm like, is that gonna work? I mean, I guess.
Sometimes I don't know about them. They're physical therapists. They feel you can. Yeah,
I know when I first started going there, I couldn't walk, and now I can.
That's good,
but it's also time.
That's true too.
The same amount of time.
Jesus Christ. God damn. I don't know. Anyway, I was I've been on that kick for a while, the music thing, and then a little bit of ancient Egypt. You ever get into that?
Yeah.
So, what's your take on you ever watch any like John Anthony West stuff, like Magical Egypt, Graham Hancock?
Hancock, yeah.
Yeah. So it kind of blows my mind a little bit about this. So here's an interesting thing, right? So the Sphinx, they speculate that the Sphinx has been around for like 30,000 years.
Because of the water damage on it, right?
Yeah. Graham Hancock thinks that the water... Well, the question is, where do you think the water came from?
I think a big flood or something is what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know. The thing about Graham Hancock, I really like a lot of his stuff. But he also talks a lot about hallucinogens. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to...
He's really big into that.
How do you take somebody real seriously on things like the pyramids and facts like that when they're also talking about how much hallucinogens
they've been on? Yeah.
But I do like Graham Hancock. Yeah,
it's interesting. They have this idea that there was a huge, meteor impact on Earth around I'm going to say 11,000 years ago. That's consistent with a huge change, like globally, like I don't want to call it an ice age, but wiping out a civilization. There's evidence that there was an impact. You can see these little nano diamonds in the dirt and stuff, which are consistent with the age. Well, what they claim is the water erosion. And then John Anthony West says that that whole ancient civilization basically just kept growing and growing and growing, right? With and eventually ended up with pyramids.
Yeah.
And so from an archaeological standpoint, a lot of the academics just say that this that came from they just popped up.
Yeah.
This technology and stuff just kind of popped up, and these other guys, I guess they call themselves like symbolic, archaeologists or something. Symbologists claim that no, through thousands and thousands of years they've just been building shit nonstop, and most of that stuff is just like it's degraded.
Yeah.
You ran into this problem with this meteorite impact that kind of destroyed a lot of stuff, and now you're at this point where it's like, okay, we have these pyramids, they're dated back like 5,000 years or something, and then you have like the Sphinx, which is kind of like a mystery thing. It looks clearly older, it's got some sort of erosion, but we really can't make sense of it, so we'll just kind of like skirt it over here.
In there with that.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I've been not reading, but watching a lot of YouTube stuff.
I like a lot of the ancient mysteries, type stuff. I still think there's weird stuff going on with Mars. Is it crazy and out there?
Really? What do you think's going on?
I don't know, but I know, the face on Mars. They all say, it's just random where you're looking at it. And there's a word for finding like faces and randomness.
Yeah, it's like pareidolia or something.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't know.
That thing.
Yeah.
But also around that same thing, and you know how it kind of looks like the face of the Sphinx,
right?
A little bit, right? Randomly,
I guess
it kind of has the thing around it,
Yeah.
We'll have to look at it after this. But there's a lot of weird stuff on Mars, like a lot of weird photographs, and I don't know what I think there are. I don't think there's life on Mars right now or anything. But also near where that face is on Mars, there are pyramids. But they say it's also caused from like random wind flowing in different ways. But they're lined up, supposedly, exactly to the pyramids in Egypt.
Interesting.
Somehow, like where they're located.
So what do you understand? Like, so like if the top of the pyramid is here, are you saying like Mars?
No, almost. Okay, like
Mars is there,
like a constellation.
Yeah,
almost.
Okay.
So say you have a star here, and a star here, and then the face. Okay, I don't know for sure.
Yeah, we don't know shit.
I mean, this was stuff that I was reading about back in the Paralore days, so I haven't read about this stuff
been a while.
in like 10 years. But I remember there was some correlation where, say you had and it wasn't a constellation, but say you have a constellation that's laid out exactly a certain way, right?
Yeah.
So the way the pyramids are in Egypt, like the Great Pyramid, the main 3 or 4, is almost identical with where it is on Mars in relation to the face.
Oh, really?
Even.
Oh, fascinating.
I mean, it's worth looking into now.
Well, you know,
I don't know what I think that means, but
it's look, if obviously there's evidence of water on Mars, right? If there's water on Mars, you know, technically it's got the right ingredients for life.
Well, they just found ice, a huge amount of ice under the surface. It actually has dirt over it.
I heard about that. Yeah, like a huge amount.
Right.
Like, like a continent size amount.
So, if we go back like thousands and thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah, shit, it could be millions of years.
Do you think we could have had a civilization on Mars?
Yeah.
Who then came?
Yeah, I think anything's possible, man.
I think that's
especially
possible.
Even on this planet, right?
Yeah.
One of the big things is, you know, clearly you look at the moon, you see the impacts, you know, from meteorites and stuff, right? Asteroids hitting that sucker, and it's because there's no atmosphere, there's nothing to protect it, right? But we're getting bombarded by that shit all the time. And
it just burns up in our atmosphere.
It just burns up, right? But sometimes they're so big. Sometimes they're just so big that they cause these catastrophes, these huge catastrophes, and you know, given the age of the planet, right, 6.5 billion or 6 billion years old or something like that, we can only go back. I mean, we've pushed civilizations back to like 30,000 years or something, right? Well, like when we were kids, even I think they were saying the oldest humans that we've ever found were just several thousand years old, right? And now we're finding it just keeps getting. They keep pushing it back, Yeah. And it wrecks the academics' narrative quite a bit. But really, what it comes down to is we don't know for sure.
Yeah.
We just don't have enough evidence, and really, all of this is a speculation. Even all these people are doing all these symbolic, you know, theories.
Yeah.
You know, it's all speculation.
Well, my opinion has always been, just look at any time in history and think about what people thought.
Yeah.
And how now we know they were wrong in a lot of ways.
Right.
Why do we think now all of a sudden
we're right?
We know everything.
Yeah.
You know, I no matter where you're at, I think you always don't know shit.
Yeah.
You know, you think you can explain things, you can explain something.
You can speculate.
But later on you find out, oh, well, we were doing that wrong.
Yeah.
We thought this for this reason now.
Yeah. Now we've got more evidence, or
so nobody knows for sure.
Or maybe another perspective, another theory that's been proven. Yeah, it's bizarre. What's really crazy is that we're probably going to, hopefully, if civilization doesn't kill itself, implode somehow, that we will be living. That's going to be scary. Not that it's scary. It's just I can't see. I can't see
a mass event like the continental divide.
Oof! I just can't see living on Mars. Not me personally. This is out of our, I think, you know.
Oh yeah,
time frame.
I mean, it'd have to be in some sort of enclosure. You know, I mean, what's the temperature on Mars?
Fuck, it's cold.
Yeah,
freezing ass cold.
Too cold for a jacket.
And the radiation's really high. Yeah. It almost makes me wonder why. I seen a retrofuturist rendition.
Retrofuturist?
Yeah, like retro,
like an oxymoron.
Like retrofuturism, right? Like in the 60s, they would create art that represented the future. Yeah, like that'd be the case. Like the Space Odyssey 2001, right? That's kind of a retrofuturistic depiction of 2001, right? From the 60s.
Right.
Somebody had created a really cool picture of the Earth and all of this infrastructure surrounding the Earth, as if it was like scaffolding around the Earth. And I thought, wouldn't it be easier to do that than it would be to like try to get to Mars and colonize Mars?
Yeah.
Understand how to, like, if we got to that point where we could harness, because turns out asteroids are just loaded with minerals, like billions and billions of dollars worth of building blocks.
Yeah.
You know? And if we could figure out how to mine asteroids.
See that we're going to overpopulate though. That's the problem.
Well, that's a possibility, right? Yeah. But the idea that we could build the scaffolding inside, outside of the atmosphere, in space.
Yeah.
Like the space station, like the International Space Station, but not
So you don't mean connected to the Earth. You're talking about just floating.
Yeah, I'm not thinking like...
so like the space station.
Yeah. Definitely not thinking like a space elevator or anything.
Yeah.
People are doing that. They're trying to make space elevators. It's crazy. There's a documentary on Netflix about that. So
where's it going to go? Just like straight up to a big tower?
Yeah, I don't know how it's... maybe they were going to use it as a launcher. You know, they're going to get it into space, and then you'll have like all your equipment and stuff there that you can just launch off into space, satellites and stuff. But I like the idea of being able to mine asteroids, come up with the building blocks, and then build stuff and construct stuff in space, and then build the scaffolding around the Earth, like a satellite, space station kind of thing. Almost gives you the same. It's almost like going to Mars in some ways, but I think to me it seems more practical because you don't have to travel 9 months. Back and forth.
So how much? So you know how you take all these like crazy sci-fi stuff from back in the 60s, and then you start to see a lot of that stuff actually happening.
Yeah.
How much of that you think is because of the things in the 60s that were like, or whatever period, like, oh, this is what the future is going to be like, and then you have like the sci-fi geeks who are like super smart, and that's what they're trying to create. You know, so is it life imitating art or art imitating life?
That's a good question. It's almost. You know, when you talk about, say, here's another example, like a religious context, using Israel and Palestine as like an example of something that was like said in the Bible before it happened, right? It's almost the same thing, right? You go, well, was this a prophecy? Well, the religious folks would say it was a prophecy, right? And maybe it is. I don't know, right? I don't even know enough about the story to really express my thoughts on it, but it sounds like, okay, well, in the Bible it says something about the Israelites kind of coming together in the Middle East, and they're going to form some kind of nation, and
they will always be at war.
They'll always be at war, and you know, lo and behold, here they are, right? So, was it that they took a page out of the Bible playbook and just went with it?
Or is it just how those people were even then, and as far back as they're recorded? So whenever the people that wrote the Bible wrote the Bible, were these people fighting, and they had been fighting for as far back as they know? So they're just going to say, well, they're going to be fighting for...
See, that was my argument. My argument was like, well, it's pretty obvious. The writing's on the wall. I mean, if you're sitting here and you got to predict something, you're going to go... Okay, you know, it's like us now today. It's like, okay, you know, Russia and China, they're always going to be kind of like, you know, sketchy. But we need to work with them.
Well, there are, like, I'm no Bible scholar, you know, but I know there are specifics that I've always heard people that talk about the end times and stuff like that. You're supposed to look for, like, what the temple is supposed to be rebuilt. There's supposed to be 7 years of peace.
I haven't seen any of that shit.
So
what's up with that?
I don't know.
Nobody mentions the goddamn internet in there. You know? Where's the internet?
They do say something about how when somebody talks or has something to say, everyone on the world will be able to hear it, right? Which is something that we haven't had available until now. But it's all interpretation.
I guess you could have said something about, you know, like broadcast television as a means for that too. You know, I don't know. But with your I almost think that like it takes a sci-fi person to kind of come up with an interesting idea, and then it takes an engineer
to make it happen. That's what I think as well.
I think it's the same thing. I think that just kind of it blows my mind, man. Another thing I'm really going to start getting into just for fun. Is that whole idea about us being in a computer program. I think that's kind of an interesting thing because it seems more and more like, you know, the way the world works is like the way we would program something. You know, I don't know enough about it, but to me, I just keep kind of going back to that.
So who programmed the program?
Well, it becomes a paradox, right? Because at some point, there's you know, it's just kind of a paradoxical argument because are our programmers living in a program? You know, maybe, you know, I don't know. That's just but the reality is bananas to begin with. So
I just, even like the Big Bang that people talk about, right? What was before that? Like there can't be just a beginning of something from nothing. I don't understand that. I don't understand any theory you give me. Religious, scientific, whatever. It still blows my mind.
It does. It blows my mind too. And I think one of our biggest problems is our inability to really grasp time. Because we're looking at time from a linear scale.
One perspective I really liked was Michio Kaku. You ever? Talk? And he talks about a fish in like a pond, right? So the fish can only understand his world in that pond. Like he can see up, he can see down, he can move around. But if you take a fish and you pull him out of the water, he just can't even fathom what's going on out there. There's just you just can't understand. And I think it's the same thing with us. You know, we just there's no way we can understand what dimensions are out there that we just
We could speculate.
Yeah.
Just like a fish can look up and see some light coming out of the, the surface of the water, and you can go, I don't know what that is, but there's something there.
Yeah.
You could sit there all day long and come up with ideas and theories as to what it is, but really you won't know because you're a fucking fish. Yeah. It's just life for a fish. Same for humans, man. There's just some things that we'll never know. And just the idea that we're working on creating a means to get off of this planet blows my mind. And we're taking the long, hard approach, right? Well, because it's the only approach, really. We haven't created any wormholes or anything yet to kind of get us to point B from point A.
So, do you think that the fact that we don't know could be programmed by the programmer, be it like a science thing or a creator, right?
Yeah.
Because if people don't know and they can't figure it out, then they're always going to be trying to achieve stuff, right? So if you knew everything, why would you do anything?
So it's funny. It's another philosophical argument too, because in Westworld, right? So right now we're at episode 10.
I think I've watched 3 so far.
Okay, so at episode 10, I'm just gonna.
I don't want a spoiler.
You don't want a spoiler?
I don't want a big spoiler.
Okay. I can't really. Okay. Well, not using Westworld as an example.
Okay, you can give me a spoiler. Right?
Okay. So they're getting to that point where the hosts inside Westworld are waking up during the procedures. I don't know if you got to that point yet where they get shot or murdered in
they're starting to have memories of their past existences inside the world.
Right. So now they're at that point where they're waking up in our world, right? During their reconstructions and stuff. They're getting reconstructed and rebuilt so they can get put back out.
When they're sitting there naked and they're enter analysis mode.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now they're waking up during that period. And some of them have gotten to the point where they're revolting. So now they're like, we're going to escape. They've become
sentient. Can't they shut them off?
They can't anymore. Yeah, they can't. Some of them they can't override them or anything. So,
but you could kill them.
Yeah, but you know what? The thing is they've gotten to the point where they've programmed like an AI, like they've programmed themselves. They're self-aware. They have consciousness. They know they know humans act like God, but they're not God. So they're programming themselves with the compute with their Surface Pro or whatever they're using to give themselves superhuman powers. So yeah, technically you could kill them if you could touch them.
So do you know what the maze is yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. I do. But you know what's interesting is they're getting to that point where they're trying to escape, right? But what they're discovering is that's all been programmed into them.
Okay.
That's the big takeaway.
Well, see, that's what I thought was happening because you have this other, and I can't remember what the guy's name was. They're like some of the hosts are talking to nobody's there, and they're using the same name, Andy or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And it's
Arnold.
Yeah. And that's apparently like an old coworker of Anthony Hopkins' character, or like co-founder, who died in the world. Right?
Yeah, right.
So I don't know much how that plays into it, but I figure that somehow he's in there like reprogramming people.
Yeah,
and I can't figure out what Ed Harris's role is too.
Oh yeah, well, I could give that all the way to you if you want it, but or you
no, I guess not. I'll have to watch it.
I probably shouldn't give away spoilers on the show either. Oh well, I don't care. I don't give a shit.
7 people are going to be pissed.
There's a whole 7 people out there that are going to be sending me email. Yeah, but yeah, the idea that maybe we're programmed to be to push the boundaries, of our, and we're thinking that we're doing this on our own,
free thought,
as our own free will, but there is no free will, and it was all set up this way on purpose. That could be too. It doesn't mean I'm going to go jump in front of a car to test my theory or anything.
I don't mean anything anymore.
I'm just going to die just to prove that it was all a program. Yeah. But it's all baffling, right? I don't know. I always kind of come back to like what the fuck is all of this?
That's where everybody is, pretty much. Unless you believe in something crazy, then you just don't know.
The flat Earth is making a comeback.
Well, it is flat.
Yeah,
go outside.
Yeah, look at the Nile. Look at the Nile River.
There's some bumps.
Look how long the Nile River is. Run it. It doesn't bend.
You ever seen the Mississippi?
Yeah. Where'd all that dirt go when the Colorado River carved through the
Grand Canyon?
I can't. You know what I hate most about my brain is every time I try to pull a word out of my vocabulary, it fucking disappears. It seems like it happens like way more than it should.
Sometimes I do. I have some weird vocabulary things I do at work.
Oh yeah,
because I guide on the ropes course.
Oh right.
And so I have to speak in front of all these people like every day, several times a day. And the weird thing I do a lot is I'll take like letters of words, like the first letter of several words, and I switch them.
Like a dyslexic thing?
I don't know. I can't like if I was going to say Gene is weird, I'd say ween is jeered.
Oh really?
And it's hard for me to do if I try to do it, but I do it a lot when I'm speaking in front of people. I don't know what that is. It's just a weird tick. Yeah. I don't do it as much anymore because I'm more used to it.
Yeah.
But I know I did that a lot in the beginning.
Yeah. It's almost like, and this is a public speaking thing too, where you're speaking out loud and you're trying to self-edit as you're talking.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you lose that buffer, that delay that you need to think about what you're about to say.
Yeah.
And you override it, and then all of a sudden the brain starts spitting out.
Override.
You start spitting out weird shit.
It's weird.
I do that a lot. I think that's what happens with people who stutter a lot too.
Yeah.
Is they have like an extreme case of that, where they're trying to say something, but the brain just wants to self-edit it constantly to the point where they just can't even talk.
Can't even say it.
Yeah. It's a big thing. I was hoping that this podcast, and I think it does work in some cases, hoping this podcast could help with that.
But we do have to talk for like 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, and it's an exercise. It's like you're constantly engaging your brain. We're talking, and we stumble on things. And every time I start to make mistakes, the funny thing is like I start to picture people that are doing other podcasts that seem to like articulate things very well, which makes it even more frustrating for me.
They prepare.
Do you think? I don't think so.
I mean, it depends which one. I guess we're listening to different types of podcasts.
Yeah, I don't listen to the prepared ones so much.
I listen to a lot of like, at least for the last month or so, I've been on this kick of like unsolved crimes.
Oh, yeah.
And I really like those podcasts for some reason.
Those are good ones.
And those are never like just sit around and bullshit type podcasts.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always like, here's
like
the story,
Radio
here's
Lab.
the facts.
Yeah.
I know you're talking about like Joe Rogan and like
most
stuff like that.
Most times
just come there and
conversations.
Talking. I think that conversations is more interesting usually, but I like like with everything, I go through phases of what I want to listen to.
I think and it depends on who's on there for one, and how well the host is able to kind of get into a person's story.
Yeah.
What's your favorite crime podcast? What's your crime podcast right now?
I don't really have a favorite. So I was listening to 48 Hours.
Yeah.
For quite a while, but I kind of got tired of that one. I've been listening to like what's it called? Up and Vanished. I can't even name them all.
Yeah. Any good stories?
Nothing that really. I mean, they're all just like the people were missing. Here's the facts, and they go around. And they talk to like everybody
to pick it apart. Yeah.
But the disappointing thing about them is they're unsolved. So it's not like you could finish it and like Serial, right? You listen to Serial and you really get into it.
Yeah. But they leave you hanging.
So it's not like they'd be interesting to briefly touch on.
Yeah.
You have to go back and like listen. What I like is hearing all the actual people, because on a lot of these podcasts they track down. And some of these are unsolved cases from like 20, 30 years ago.
I see.
And the people that are covering the story now are like tracking down all the people from that long ago. And a lot of times they're uncovering some pretty interesting stuff that the police didn't uncover like 30 years ago.
Yeah, you think about that. You think about like the cops, right? And some of these cases, I think a lot of these cops, man, they're busy. They have a lot of shit going on. And I don't think they all have the opportunity or the time to spend, the amount of effort, put the time into these cases that they're probably warranted, that they need. And you have these
I mean, some of the ones I was listening to, it's like the cops missed things that were huge.
Like obvious?
Yeah, it's like there was one where somebody was just missing, right?
Yeah.
And there was somebody that lived in this person's apartment. They lived in the same apartment that never was questioned.
Really?
Yeah, these
they just missed that.
Yeah, the person who was telling the story went back and tracked down, found out who was living there, and then found the guy that They questioned everybody that lived there, right? And one of the guys that lived there said he was never questioned by the police, and he thought that was weird.
That is weird.
Because the police had picked it was like a woman, and they thought it was her boyfriend at the time. But they never charged him with it. They never had enough evidence to charge him with it. But they only focused on him. It's like they built their narrative.
Yeah.
They took all the evidence and they go, this is the guy, this is the guy.
I think
they tried him and he was found not guilty. Then the family tried to sue him in a civil case and they found him not guilty again because they didn't have enough evidence. And the people that are going back like 20 years later are finding all kinds of stuff and like different leads that they just never followed up on because they said, that's the guy. Nothing else makes sense, and I think there's a lot of that.
I think there's a huge amount of that.
Yeah.
That case with the what was that girl that was in Italy and her roommate ended up dead? What was her name? Was it Natalie? I want to say Natalie something. But same thing. You listen to that. You listen to that detective. The dude formed an opinion like on day one, and he stuck to it, and he was completely wrong like the whole time. And he was an idiot.
A lot of this, a lot of the ones I listen to, the police seem like they're involved. Not a lot of them, but a good amount.
Like, what do you mean involved?
So, here's a good one. Have you ever listened to Sword and Scale? It's probably one of my favorite, like, crime type podcasts, but it can be pretty morbid.
Oh, really?
Right? They get into, like, a lot of the details and, like, the actual audio, 911 calls, and stuff like that.
Wow.
Give it a listen, Sword and Scale. So, one of the episodes was a case in Texas where I think it was a 19-year-old woman was murdered. And they arrested some black dude, put him in jail, and now he's getting ready now to be executed.
Jeez.
Right? So they're having this like stay of execution. They're trying not to have him executed.
Yeah, scrambling, huh?
But the evidence shows like the woman who was killed was engaged to a police officer. The police officer found out that she had an affair with this dude. Right? And so at the scene, they found like 3 or 4 beer cans, and the DNA matched 3 cops, which was this cop and 2 of his friends. And this was before, like, they were there. So, and there was a lot of evidence that all pointed to the cop and his friends. So what it looks like happened...
Cover-up.
...from anyone is, like,
Scapegoat.
He found out that she was having an affair with this dude.
Cops.
It's a black dude in Texas in, like, this, whatever,
racist,
the 80s.
Freaking Texas state, yeah.
So the cops went, and he killed his girlfriend, and then he had his buddies help him cover it up and blame it on this dude. And now the dude's about ready to get executed. And if you listen to it, it's hard to
not
think
see
any
that.
other way, and they don't approach it with like, oh, let's blame this on the cops.
Yeah,
I mean,
they just kind of look at it,
objectively, and if it's hard to see it any other way,
man.
And that's, and I've heard several stories like that where it's the cops that seem like they're involved somehow, or maybe not the cops, but somebody who is a police officer, right,
tied to
who
it,
involves in a crime because. Anybody from any profession are criminals at some point, right?
Right.
It's just a random thing. But if you're a cop and you're a criminal, then you have all the power in the world to cover it up.
Yeah. You're in the right.
Like.
You have the experience, the expertise. You know what it takes to make sure that nobody can find your stuff. I mean, you got the inside. Yeah, that's crazy.
Scary.
That's creepy.
Could you imagine, like, getting framed for something like that?
Yeah, man. It probably happens. I think that's why I have a strong opinion about the death penalty.
Yeah.
And unless it's uncivil for one, I think.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a heinous crime in which there's, without a shadow of a doubt,
Well, you're supposed to not be convicted unless it's without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah. I mean, like if there's a video of you actually doing it, and you're like, yeah, okay, and he's waving, hey, I did it,
Yeah.
I mean, like, okay, that's one thing, but. Because you get into these bonehead states where it's riddled with corrupt, racist people, and it's a culture problem, and and you got laws like you're going to die because of this.
There's another podcast that I listen to called Actual Innocence, and every single episode is about somebody who's been in jail for the last one I listened to was 17 years, and then DNA
pops them
came out and got him off. So, I mean, it happens all the time.
Yeah, it happens too much, man. And I think that's one of the biggest problems. I think didn't we have a proposition in California to abolish the death penalty? But I think we kept it. I think everybody was like, we're going to keep that shit. Americans.
Yeah, I heard it. I don't know what I think about it. I haven't really had to pick. Because there's certain times, I mean, if something happened to me or one of my family, I'd say kill the bastard.
Kill the bastard. Yeah.
But then again, with the corruptness and everything that goes on, I don't know.
Anytime you get people involved, man, there's going to be some fucking shenanigans. I think
I heard a quote that was pretty good. It said, "But if you kill a killer, there are no less killers in the world."
Yeah.
You still got
it's a good point.
Amount of killers.
It's a good point. Yeah. Only problem is people that are doing the killing now are on a very high level and have the power to kill anybody if they really want to.
Yeah.
You get away with it. That's creepy.
That's been like that since the beginning of time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's life. It is kind of life, you know. You'd hope we'd move on, but I don't know. You know what's funny is I was watching this Ripley's Believe It or Not documentary on, I think it's Robert Ripley, his name. And I like the idea, because I was thinking I was thinking of more interesting things that we could talk about, you know. So I was like, oh, this is kind of fascinating. He's got an interesting story.
Yeah, I've got several like Ripley's Believe It or Not big books.
Do you?
Yeah, I love that stuff.
Yeah, it was kind of a serendipitous accident for the guy, you know, how he got into it, and it just blew up. You know, he was. I only do this because I was thinking, oh, this is kind of neat because. You know how we used to do ghost stuff, you know, paranormal stuff, and it's kind of like this. It's not the same, obviously.
It's like oddities,
yeah. And I thought, oh, this would be kind of a fun thing to kind of a rabbit hole to go down because one, the stuff that you're looking up could be real.
Yeah,
right? It is really fascinating to see some of these weird things going on in the world, and then report back on them. And you're not talking about like, you know, psychobabble. You know, we're not talking about ghosts and shit. You know, it's like real. So I was kind of like, oh, this is kind of interesting, you know?
Yeah.
And this guy, you know, he was like a sports writer, I guess. You know the story of this guy?
It's been a long time since I've read it.
Yeah, so like in, I want to say like the 20s, he was like a sports writer. Not a writer. He was an artist. He was like a sports writer. So that's how they used to do it in newspapers in the old days. Is he would draw cartoons and then like little captions and. It was all sports related, but what happened in the wintertime is like there's not a lot of sports going on. So what he would do is he would spend 6 months or a year, the rest of the year curating like interesting stories.
Yeah.
And he got to that point where he'd pull those things out and he'd start going through his like desperation drawer to pull out stories so he could have something to talk about, something to write about. And he would only do these like believe it or not things like. Very rarely,
like shrunken heads found in Somalia.
Oh man, it's pretty fascinating. The stuff. Anyway, so he'd start writing. What was he doing? He was.
What was he doing, Gene?
Oh man.
Do your breathing exercise.
Let's take a moment.
Robert Ripley.
I can picture his buck teeth right now and his big cheeks. Yeah. Anyway, he started writing these cartoons on crazy shit, right? Yeah, he would pull out of books and stuff. Yeah.
There's a Ripley's Believe It or Not museum right here in San Francisco.
Yeah, he's from here.
Okay.
Turns out he's from here. Simon and Schuster, you know who that is? Does that sound familiar? Like
sounds familiar.
Back in the days, they used to publish crossword puzzles. Anyway, They got one of this guy, Robert Ripley, writing these crazy, believe it or not, cartoons in the newspaper that people were just going bananas for. And he was just like, this is just filler, you know, so I can stay busy and not get fired. And they're like, no, you need to write a book. And so all he did was he took like his best of over like 5 years and wrote a book about it, and overnight became like a huge sensation. Wow. Yeah, huge sensation. He was clearing like $500,000 during the Great Depression
in the 30s.
Yeah, it's crazy. And he had this dude. Here's the dark, not the dark side, but the big secret, right? He had a guy, the smart guy. Digging into the library 10 hours a day looking for, believe it or not, stuff.
Like good stories.
Like good
weird
stories.
Stuff, yeah.
And so this guy spoke like 14 languages, so he could read all kinds of books. Really smart dude.
Robert Ripley or
the other guy?
The guy he had working for him.
So Robert Ripley was kind of an interesting character. Very awkward person.
Yeah.
He had I would say he had like a low social intelligence, right? Like his ability to communicate people wasn't great.
Yeah.
And in fact, he kind of came off as like a buffoon, like an audacious buffoon in a lot of ways. Like the guy that would go to visit another culture.
Socially awkward.
Yeah, he'd visit another culture and just come off kind of offensive.
Yeah.
Like somebody would be speaking another language and he would just speak English louder, as if they.
I know people like that.
Yeah, we all kind of have that. So he had this guy who was doing this research for him, and I can't remember the guy's name, but like Penthouse. Anyway, really smart guy, Jewish dude in New York, and all he would do is he had his routine where he'd go to the library and he would just go through books and just pull out crazy, believe it or not, stories. And Ripley would take off to the areas that seemed interesting and claim all the fame for all the work, right? So it looked like that Ripley was just this genius that was running off doing all of these oddities and stuff, and the real work was being done by this other guy.
He's just the face.
Never got any recognition from Ripley at all. Wow. Yeah, kind of an interesting story. But yeah.
Did he at least get paid well?
I don't know. Probably enough. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, that was Ripley's real bread and butter right there. Yeah. I mean, without that guy, I don't think he would have gone anywhere. You know, but
we should go check out that museum.
Yeah, we should definitely check that out because it kind of I thought it would be fun just to start digging into a little more because it is neat. Like the stuff that he was digging into is even fascinating to me today. Yeah. You know, the Indian culture, for example, in India. Yeah. You know, it's like those guys do some wacky shit. You know, guys stupid stuff like I'm gonna hold my arms over my head every day for years and years and years until they get like frozen in place to show my dedication to my God.
So, yeah,
that's the kind of stuff they would do, like these crazy, weird, bizarre things.
Why is that weird?
Good question. Yeah. I mean, what are you going to do with your arms if they're just constantly hanging over your head to the point where they're like seized in place?
People are odd, like the rings that stretch out your neck.
Yeah, or the lip thing, you know, where they put this big, like how awkward is that? That's got to be uncomfortable, you know.
I mean, people here still do that type of stuff just as like a fashion.
Yeah.
You got the big ear gauges. And
just plugs in their ears and stuff.
Yeah.
I just don't see why. I mean, it's cool. It's cool to a point. After a while, it's just like, why would you do that? It just seems so uncomfortable.
Well, the thing is, you can't go back from it.
Yeah, that's another thing, too. You can't.
So I know when I got out of the military, I pierced my eyebrow. My tongue was pierced for years. Do you remember that? You don't?
No, I don't think I was around for that time.
Well, I had my tongue pierced for like 10 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know why. My lip, but you can't tell now.
Yeah.
You know, you do something like that with your ears.
The plugs will always be there.
That's
even a little nose piercing is going to leave a hole.
Yeah,
you can still see it. You know, after you've taken it out for years, it'll never go away. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't think a lot of people plan out their future too much.
Of course, I have a bunch of tattoos, and those aren't going anywhere.
I have a bunch of tattoos that I kind of wish I could get rid of. Yeah. I own them now. I'm like, okay, you know, they are what they are. But if I had another chance, I probably wouldn't get them. Yeah. You know? Oh well, it's life.
Yeah, okay. Live and learn.
Either that or you go all the way.
All the way.
You don't want to see. What I did was I went half-assed, right? So I just got like a couple of things, which just makes it cheesy, right? So you either you go big or go home, or don't do it at all.
Yeah.
Don't get a little tattoo. That was what Aaron told me.
Yeah.
Aaron's like, if you're gonna get a tattoo, don't get a little one.
Make it count.
Make it fucking good.
Yeah.
Make it big. Make it cover a body part or something. Don't get the stupid little butterfly.
Yeah.
The skull.
I got to get him to finish my chest one of these days.
Get out there.
Got to get colored.
The guy's so busy these days, man. Yeah, he's booked. His tattoo studio is just
that's good
nonstop. You could call him today, and he probably wouldn't be available until like next month.
I've referred people to him before, and they've called him and said, "Well, he's got like a month waiting list."
Yeah,
that's good.
That's some good job.
That means he does a good job. Yeah. Old popcorn sitting on my leg is looking fabulous.
Yeah, he's doing. I'm happy for him. It's probably overworked, Have
you guys ever put the audio to your?
I gave up on that. Yeah, I got 90% of the way with creating a course for him.
Yeah,
like we were going to create a tattoo course that teaches people how to do black and white portraiture tattoos.
I was the canvas.
You were the canvas. We put a lot of time into that, and it all fell apart when I was like, "You got to come down and do the voiceovers for everything." And
he's too busy.
He just never did it. Yeah. And I was like, "Oh, okay, well." Months turn into years, and I'm like, okay, so I ended up just scrapping it.
Yeah, it was practice for everyone for their own art.
Yeah.
I got a sweet tat out of the deal.
You got a sweet tat out of the deal. I got a good deal on that tattoo. Yeah, it is. It's you live and learn, I guess. But yeah, man. Hey, what are your thoughts on that Elisa Lam?
That's a weird
mystery.
story. That one I really got into for quite a while.
Just describe it real quick.
So, from what I can remember, as a 21-year-old like college student, she's Canadian. Mm-hmm. She wanted to do a road trip on her own, like her first big trip by herself.
Yeah.
She was going to drive down to L.A., come up through several cities, even to Santa Cruz here.
Okay.
That was on her list of places to go.
Okay.
I think she started in San Diego, then went up to a place in L.A., stayed at the Cecil Hotel.
Cecil. You've been to Cecil. I've been to the Cecil. I've seen the Cecil.
Have you?
I haven't been, stayed the night there, but I've seen it.
I don't know if I have or not. I know they've changed the name now.
Yeah.
Because of this whole thing.
Really?
The Cecil's been around for years, since the 20s.
Given the fact that a dead body was tainting the water there, I would probably have to change the name too.
Yeah,
that's a bad thing. But anyway.
So, she went missing, right? She was missing for 19 days. And she kept in constant contact with her family and everything like that. So there was this big search because that's where she was staying, right? Uh-huh. The police came, they searched the hotel, didn't find her. Search went on, right? So after 19 days, people that were staying in the Cecil, and the Cecil Hotel, just to give you an idea, is in Skid Row of LA. It's not in a good neighborhood.
It's a shithole.
Yeah, and it's I think of it as she probably went on one of these Expedia and found some cheap hotel.
What year was this? Do you think?
Do you
remember?
I think it was 2013.
Okay.
Very recent.
Not very long ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, recent is in 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So she probably found this cheap hotel. She's not familiar with LA.
Right.
So she ends up in the worst part of town, Skid Row. She's staying in this hotel. So anyway, after 19 days, people are starting to call that their water's coming out really nasty and dark out of their faucets. And this is also about the hotel. People, it's kind of like the Motel 6, where you could stay there for a long time.
Oh, okay. So you could practically live there if you want.
There are people that live there.
Yeah, okay.
And you could go there, stay for a night.
So water's important.
Yeah. So people were complaining about the water being dark. So the maintenance man goes up and checks the water tanks on the top of the hotel and finds Elisa in there, right? And at that time, 19 days go by. I was about to skip ahead. So anyway, they have to come up there, and she's at this point gotten so bloated, apparently, that they have to cut a hole in the water tank to pull her out.
Oh, my God.
Can't just get her out of the top. So then, after a few days, they released this video of her in the hotel the night she died. And I guess they're looking for information because they haven't determined how she died or anything yet.
Yeah.
But the video is what is really, really weird.
Sketchy. Strange.
You can see her, and she comes in to the hotel. I think it's the middle of the night. And she walks in, she starts pressing all the buttons on the hotel, and she looks like she's trying to hide. Uh-huh. Then she's peeking out, looking both ways as if she's trying to hide from somebody.
She's in an elevator.
Looking
and paranoid.
Right. And then the elevator's not closing. She looks like she's pressing the buttons, waiting for the doors to close.
Nothing.
So then she steps out of the elevator, and this 3 or 4 minutes go by of her looking, hiding.
Yeah.
And then she steps out, and then she does this really weird. She starts moving her hands in really weird ways, and
creepy looking.
Yeah, and it looks
creepy.
It looks really, really weird.
Yeah.
And so then she just takes off and goes, right? So apparently somehow she got up to the top, crawled into the water tank, and drowned. So the officials, they tested her for drugs and said this. She came up negative for drugs.
Right.
Okay. Right. Supposedly, to get to that part of the roof, she had to go through 2 locked doors or barriers, and one of them was supposed to be set with an alarm. How they got up there, they're not really sure. So, was she there with somebody who got her up there and drowned? She was also found naked
inside the tower. Yeah.
So a couple of things. I mean, to me, it looks like somebody. The only logical explanation I can think of is she's on drugs.
Yeah.
Right, but if no drugs were found in her system, supposedly, but if she was on some drug like LSD where she's seeing things, that would probably be out of her system 2 weeks in a tub of water,
soaking.
And I don't know how that would work. I don't know. It's just a weird story. Now there's a couple of weird things about that hotel too. So there was a movie called Dark Waters, I think, that was put out probably 10 years before this ever happened.
Okay.
And it almost had the same story. There's these, this woman and her daughter or something that went to live in the city, stayed in this hotel. Water started coming through dark. Somebody was like drowned in the water tank. A lot of and I think the main character in the movie was named Cecilia.
Really?
And it was the Cecil Hotel. So that was kind of weird.
Oh, fun.
There's been a ton of suicides at the Cecil Hotel.
No kidding.
Also, the Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez, back from like the 80s. Do you remember when that was going on?
Yeah, classic.
He was living
Classic
at the Cecil Hotel at the time he was doing those murders.
Whoa.
There's also another serial killer from Australia who came there and was living there for a while. It's also believed that the Black Dahlia, the one who was like found cut in half,
murder?
she supposedly had lived there for a while.
Really?
It's a lot of weird stuff with the hotel anyway.
Yeah.
So the two like biggest theories that I could subscribe to in a way, like I'm not going to believe that there's like a weird ghost paranormal
Crazy
thing
negative
going on.
Force,
Yeah, I don't believe that. So so she supposedly had bipolar disorder.
Yeah.
And she was on 4 different medications. But there's never been a problem with her. Like, nobody's ever said that she's gone that crazy. Like,
yeah.
She has posts on Facebook or whatever where she may sound like depressed.
Yeah.
Or sad. But how many people like are depressed and sad?
Like everybody.
And then how many people do something like that where it's just completely nuts?
Yeah.
Right? She's not known, like nobody ever knew her to be a drug user. Mm-hmm. But she was also like 21 years old, taking this trip of her own, on her own in LA. Like, did somebody give her some drugs that she didn't know about? Did she just take them and then end up flipping out and going into the water tank? The other theory is that because like there's such this weird reputation with the Cecil Hotel, that there could be a killer that lives there now, right?
Ooh, that'd be creepy.
And he kind of did that based on like because he knows about those movies, right? It wasn't really a coincidence about the movies, but it's just someone who's like,
it's kind of like what we talked about earlier about art imitating life, or life imitating art, whatever.
Yeah. So I mean, was she really hiding? I mean, it looks like she's trying to hide from somebody, right? And then it seems like somebody had to help her get up to the roof somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird.
I guess
watch the video. I mean, the video is the weirdest.
Yeah,
thing.
You could see the video on YouTube. It's Elisa Lam, right? We lost our. Oh well, I don't think anybody was watching.
Screw it. Elisa Lam, Elisa.
Right.
Lam. Oh, here's another weird thing.
What's we got?
So during that same period of time that she died, she went missing. This one's really weird. There was a tuberculosis outbreak in Skid Row.
No way.
Right? The medicine used to treat it was Lam Elisa.
Nah.
Yes.
That's so weird.
Spelled exactly the same way, just reverse order.
No way.
Lam Elisa instead of Elisa Lam.
That's
in the same area.
That's so weird.
Yeah. I mean, I know there are lots of weird coincidences. And what could that mean? I don't think it's tied in.
So do you think those are? Where did you hear that? So could it be that somebody was kind of trolling the story and just started making weird shit up like that?
No, that's real.
That's real.
That's real. And we'll after we record,
we'll have to
we should
check
look
that
it up
out
and see.
Yeah,
but that is it's a well-known
fact. That's a fact. Elisa Lam.
I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure that's a fact.
I know what you mean, man.
No, but that is because that's what's reported.
I think she was
fake news.
Well, the most obvious, to me, the most obvious answer to that riddle is A, 21, bipolar, paranoid, schizophrenic, maybe. I don't know what the actual.
But this would be like
diagnosis
the first time that she's had that severe of a thing,
and it's also the first time she's taken off on her own to have an experience on her own, right? So,
well, that's what we're thinking.
That's what we're thinking. Right. So making that assumption that she's turned 18 or 21 for the first time, leaving home to go on this trip, puts her in a new space, maybe even a riskier space where she had some alcohol, because alcohol makes sense to me. Mixing it with 4 different medications would give her some side effects that could probably intensify her medication.
Or she wasn't taking any of her medication.
Or she wasn't taking any at all. And so she was having an episode, right? A paranoid episode. Obviously, it looked like she was very paranoid inside that elevator. She's in there slapping those buttons like she's in a hurry to get out of there. She's looking around. Clearly, there's nobody there. Yeah. Camera didn't pick anybody up, right? So she's in this schizophrenic sense of mind where she thinks, she's under somebody's trying to get her. And I'm thinking, given that the hotel is on Skid Row, it's not what I would call a classy joint,
right.
Which means the employees probably aren't classy employees, which means it's probably, chances are really good that the locks that they were supposedly have, that they would have to keep people out weren't.
They just didn't have anything set.
They just didn't fucking have anything set. The maintenance guy is probably going up and down that thing once or twice a day, and he's like, well, forget it.
See, the other thing is the elevator didn't work.
Yeah.
Right? Because she's in there pressing buttons, and the thing's not closing.
Could be an old elevator where the more you press those buttons, the longer it hangs out, trying to, calculate what's going on, right? So she's just like overloading the computer of the elevator, whatever that is, and nothing's happening. Right?
So I think that is the most likely scenario. If it is somebody who did this to her,
could still be there.
It's probably, I would think, somebody who works at the hotel.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe they stopped somehow made the elevator malfunction, somehow got her on the roof. The problem I have is if this was somebody else, they would have had to have, if they killed her and then put her in the water, how are they going to get her up to the top? It's not going to be easy to climb up to the top of a water tank with a body.
Firemen carry,
right.
So you have to be really big.
And I think they found water in her lungs, so that means that she went in there alive.
Yeah.
And then drowned.
She inhaled it. Right.
So somebody would have had to have went up there with her and then talked her to jump into it. A lot of this stuff just doesn't make sense. But the story itself is really, really weird. And the video is freaky.
It's super freaky. And I think that's what drives all the speculation. If you didn't have that video, it'd be probably a pretty closed case, right? Clear-cut case. And then with the drugs, too, I mean, if you have a body marinating in water for 3 weeks, a lot of water. I mean, it's going to dilute anything that's in your system, so. But it's fascinating nonetheless, right? Because the video creeps me out more than anything else.
Could you imagine living there and knowing that you were, drinking water?
Yeah. See, that's even more disturbing, right? Yeah. Just thinking about that just grosses me out. Ugh. Oh, God. Just the pipes, knowing the pipes are still in, there's, body fluids passing through it from a decomposing body, and the water system just sounds terrible. Yeah, I wouldn't want that happening. I could see why they changed the name of their hotel.
Yeah, I looked up their website, and they're trying to appeal to a whole different type of.
What are they trying
crowd.
to appeal for?
It seems like young people that want to go out and party in LA. This is a good place to stay.
Oh, okay, I could see.
But they try to look. It looks classy. Or the website at least
looks pretty nice.
Like they're trying to be classy.
Yeah,
but I imagine they're still on Skid Row.
There's some really cool, classy joints, though. Hotels, so I could see that. I stayed at some place in San Francisco, like a Victorian cottage type of thing.
Was that with I think you went there and stayed with Lisa and I.
Oh, we've done some stuff.
The Queen Anne.
The Queen Anne.
Mansion.
We've done that. Yeah, that's so cool. It's just a fun experience.
Yeah.
I think for the fun of it, that just brings up an opportunity to go have some fun, go up to San Francisco, go stay at the Queen Anne, and then go out, just go see a show or something.
I think we went and saw Big Jim give us a ghost tour.
We had a ghost tour from Big Jim. The guy was really good too. He's a good storyteller. But man, this little Victorian experience, can't go wrong there. It's fun to get out of your house and go fall back and do some hotel,
something different,
some different.
I've been cooped up for the last 4 or 5 months with this foot. Yeah. Now that I'm walking a little bit, I really want to go do something.
Yeah.
Go do something fun.
Me too. I think that 2017 is going to be stretch the arms and legs a little bit.
Yeah.
Get out and see some stuff. Oh, yeah, I got to do that. Got to start planning.
So here's the thing, kind of changing the subject big time. So since we're talking about how I've been stuck in the house for the last few months, I feel like my diet has gone to shit.
Oh no. Yeah, it's easy to do.
And I got to figure out how to get on a meal plan. I don't know what to eat, what not to eat, and that's what I want to ask you about. How do you eat good and feel good?
Yeah, so I hired a personal trainer to teach me how to eat. Believe it or not, it's you'd think this stuff is trivial, but it's not. It really isn't. And
you talk. If you look it up, you got 50 different opinions and stuff. And
what's really hip right now is a ketosis diet. Where you're cutting out most of all your carbs. And you're leaving a small percentage of carbohydrates in your body, and you're burning mostly fat for fuel. And your body uses it can use fat, it can use carbohydrates for fuel sources, and depending on
so what are good carbs and what are bad? Because there are good carbs and bad carbs, right?
Yeah.
So how do you?
Well, the way my fitness, my personal trainer kind of showed me, and I've been on this. This is the only way I live now. Is pretty much anything that's processed these days is going to contain probably some level of sugar or simple carbohydrate, which gets processed. It gets broken down in the body like really easy, really fast. But if your body doesn't need that energy, it's just going to store it as fat.
Yeah.
Right. So the idea is, if we eliminate that, we can go into this kind of fat burning process, and we can eliminate a lot of the belly fat and so forth. So he's got me on this diet that's high in protein because I'm lifting a lot of weights, and very low carbohydrates and lots of vegetables.
Yeah.
Right? It's really simple. It really is. So, not saying that rice is bad, right? Everything in proportion, right?
Sure.
So right now, like to give you an example of what I'm doing, I'll wake up in the morning, I'll have 40 grams, which is like a half a cup of oatmeal, right? Just regular old oatmeal in hot water. Rolled oats like you'd get at the store, a big old Quaker thing, right? And a couple of eggs. So I'll fry a couple of eggs, throw it in there.
Throw it in there?
Yeah, because
with your oatmeal?
I do. I mix it up. Yeah, I got this liquid stevia, which is like a sweetener.
Yeah.
So I'll just drop a little stevia in there to sweeten up the oatmeal, and then I'll drop a couple of eggs in there, kind of like over medium with the yolks
Sounds
and
really
stuff.
Weird.
It's really good though. It tastes delicious. I've been eating it that way for like 2 years. I haven't gotten tired of it yet, which is pretty impressive. And so that'll be like my breakfast. And then a couple hours later, I'll have 7 ounces of chicken breast and 1 cup of vegetables, like mixed vegetables.
So do you have a day where you like prep all this stuff?
I prep probably 2 or 3 times a week.
For like 2 or 3 days at a time.
Yeah, because you eat a lot of food, like especially if you're exercising, if you're lifting a lot, and it's a lot of food, but it's low calorie. It's like huge volume, but it's really hard for me to finish the meal plan like for every day, like the daily requirements, because it's like, okay, so you got the oatmeal breakfast, and then you have kind of like a mid-morning pre-lunch, which is going to be a lot, right? It's going to be 7 ounces of chicken breast. It's going to be 1 or 2 cups of vegetables. That's it.
So you're eating basically just chicken breast, lean beef, and like fish?
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. So any of that high fat meat, like pork, shoulders, pork in general.
I don't eat.
Good. So you can get that out of your system.
So for me, and I don't like pump iron or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I've gained like 10 pounds since I broke my foot.
The simplest thing to do is to cut out all of the junk food.
Yeah.
Anything with sugar in it, stop it. Just stop it.
I do drink soda, so that's a problem.
So shift to diet soda. Never drink your calories.
I should just drink water, and I'm okay with that. Tea.
Drink water. Drink a gallon of water a day.
Yeah.
Just drink a gallon. It's hard, but once you get over that hump, that hurdle of like drinking a gallon a day, it's not as hard. And
you cut out bread completely?
Yeah, no bread. No. Eliminate bread. That's just a simple carbohydrate. It's not doing.
So you don't eat burgers?
You get it? Okay, so I'm only human. Okay. So I will go out and I will have like a burger, right? But it's not like we do it every day, or I do it every day.
So how often would you say that you let yourself eat a burger?
I would say like once a month.
Yeah.
Maybe twice a month. I'll go through those kind of high carb days. It's like my body just craves it. Like I'll have breakdowns. Like I'm just. Like, man, it'd feel real good if I just had a burger right now.
So you've pretty much cut out bread.
Oh, yeah.
Completely?
Yeah. Noodles. Get rid of all the noodles.
No spaghetti.
No spaghetti noodles. There's substitutes. What you start finding out is there's substitutes for just about everything.
Okay.
So you can make zucchini noodles. There are things that you can still, mix into your spaghetti that
still have pasta, just not like...
Yeah. They're just made with different...
gluten-free pasta.
Yeah. No wheat, no grainy, carbohydrate, So I'll get through all. There's like 5 meals in a day that you got to maintain, right? To get enough calories in you, and maintain your weight, and then still have like good lean muscle.
Yeah.
And so that'd be like 7 ounces of chicken breast and 1 or 2 cups of vegetables, and then meal 3 will be 4 ounces of carbohydrate and 7 ounces of chicken breast again.
Yeah.
So carbohydrate could be like that's your rice, which is like a half a cup.
Yeah.
half a cup of rice or a couple of rice cakes.
So half a cup before it's cooked or after?
After it's cooked. Okay. After it's cooked. So prepare your rice in a rice cooker or something, and then just throw half a cup in there.
I guess half a cup uncooked rice would be a lot of rice.
It's actually quite a bit. Yeah, it's amazing how much it expands. And then the fourth meal is the same thing. It's another 7 ounces of chicken breast, another 1 or 2 cups of vegetables, or a salad or something. The fun thing about vegetables is like you could eat as much as you want.
Yeah.
And you can mix it up. You get salads. You can cook it any way you want. It's no big deal. And then meal 4 is typically like a Quest bar, which is more of like a balanced I wouldn't say it's like a nutritional bar, but it's a good substitute for. It's not like a candy bar. That and I usually have that and maybe a Diet Coke or something.
Yeah.
And then finally, like in the evenings, I'll have the evenings are more fun. You have something a little more fat in it, like a top sirloin. Fun. Yeah, like a top sirloin.
Okay.
Like a top sirloin with some vegetables. That's just so the fat kind of keeps you satiated a little bit.
So do you think if you get like a New York strip, there's just too much fat in that?
It's a little too much. Yeah, like a ribeye is like a real fatty piece, super delicious, but it's it's a little
top
fatty.
Sirloin's more lean.
Yeah, it's a leaner cut.
Yeah.
And when I'm under the gun, like when I hire my guy and I have to send him a weekly report with pictures and stuff, I stick to his program like religiously.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to waste his time and I want to waste my time, and that's really it. I don't really want to make him angry because George gets like, don't fucking waste my time, with sending me these fat bloated pictures of you eating cookies the night before.
Yeah.
So I'm okay. Sorry. On my own time, I'll slip a little. I'm only human, right?
Yeah.
But for the most part, I stick with that 80 to 85% of the plan. I'll slip some stuff in there when I have little breakdowns, and I just acknowledge the fact that I like sweets.
So for the most part, you just cut out sugar, cut out bread.
Yeah. Just start that
product.
And drink lots of water. Just start drinking lots of water. It's good for your brain. It's good for your body.
Yeah.
It just keeps the body, I don't know, I feel a little more satiated too when I'm just full of water. And I never really feel bloated. You got to piss a lot.
Yeah.
But it's okay. You're just kind of cycling
just
through.
Cleaning yourself out.
Just cleaning yourself out. But that's really it, man. And then sweating. I think that's a really big important thing too. Is you got to exercise.
Yeah.
And even if it's the Wim Hof breathing, for an hour straight, or not, you don't have to be an hour, but just to get the heart rate up.
Yeah. Well, I'm back climbing again, even though I don't really build my heart rate up too much. Yeah. But I do sweat.
That's good. That means you're in that fat burning phase.
Yeah.
You're not hitting that that anaerobic or that aerobic exercise. You're kind of in that anaerobic.
See, I'm sweating a lot more now because I'm climbing with one foot.
Oh yeah.
And so there's never a really good way to rest.
You're gonna have one strong leg and one weak leg.
Oh, dude, my leg is like my calf is gone, just like a pole.
Yeah, imagine like being in a wheelchair for like years.
Oh, dude,
man.
I definitely have a new appreciation for walking because it's even though I've been kind of walking for like a week.
Yeah,
it still doesn't feel real. Because for the past 4 months, I would dream I could walk.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'd dream I'd walk around, and then I'd wake up and I'd be like, oh, shit, I can't go nowhere.
That's crazy. Fascinating.
And even now, I can't walk barefoot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I gotta have
cushioning. And,
yeah.
Are they encouraging you to walk barefoot yet?
No. So they've just now started having me walk without that big boot on.
Oh, okay.
But I still have to wear like my hiking boots, and under this hiking boot, I have a brace.
Oh, okay.
That's on there.
Well, that ain't too bad.
And I'll probably, hopefully, do that for like a month. And then get out of that.
Any more operations?
Hopefully not. I mean, it depends how
it all plays out.
Yeah, how the crookedness is going to affect it.
Crooked. Yeah.
I really hope not because, damn, dude, I don't want to go through it all again. And if I have to get another operation, it's going to be a long recovery because they're going to re-break it.
Yeah, I got to reset it.
Yeah. And he said if they did it, they'd have to come in through the other side of my foot.
Oh,
for some reason,
a whole new thing, huh? It's like a whole new process. Start over.
Yeah, man. I don't want to do that. They've already cut into my foot in 5 different spots.
Really?
Yeah.
Jesus. Scar tissue and stuff in there too has probably got to be heinous.
Yeah, I'll have to show you what it looks like on one side.
Yeah.
It's just like a huge lump of scar tissue.
Can they clean that up too, or you just?
They've tried.
Really?
Yeah. My last surgery is what they did. They cut in both sides of my ankle and just put a scope in and try to pull out
great
scar tissues they could.
Scar tissue.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's rough, dude.
Yeah. So I don't want no more surgeries.
You got to pay to play.
Yeah.
Pay to play.
I just want to be able to climb.
Yeah.
Got to get back to it. I've got the 24 Hours of Horseshoe Hell competition.
Yeah.
Coming up in like 10 months from now.
10 months?
Well, it's in September. It was supposed to be last September. I broke my foot. They put it off till next year for me.
Okay.
So that's my big goal now.
Well, at least you got a goal.
Gotta do that, yeah.
You and Curtis gonna just keep at it?
Yeah, hopefully. Not hopefully, I mean, yeah.
That's the plan.
Hopefully I'll be climbing soon and getting at it. I mean, actually climbing, not one leg hopping in the gym.
Yeah. Cool. Well, if you want that nutrition plan that I have, I can share it with you. I'll just give you the steps that I'm taking to maintain what I got.
Yeah. So mentally, how do you stick to it? That's my problem.
Yeah.
I get all these ideas of things I want to do, and then I
it depends.
See a bag of sour candy, and I say, "Oh, damn."
Yeah, and I struggle with that too a lot of times. My biggest problem is I feel like I'm doing this all by myself, right? It's like you put yourself through this. You put yourself through this constant work. You're at the gym. You're doing 2-a-days. Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and for me, it's been kind of an interesting tug of war with my brain, with just my thoughts, because you get to a certain point where you start asking yourself, like, why am I doing all of this?
Yeah.
What's this for? What's the use? What's the point? It's not like I'm a professional athlete and I'm out there and my job requires me of it. It's not like my wife is like demanding that.
But you are an athlete. You're competing in a sport.
Yeah, I am. But, not for the sake of, like if I'm not performing, my sponsorships are going to go away. Don't have any of that. So it's not like that's important to me. My wife, she's more of an enabler than she is, somebody's trying to keep me focused.
Yeah.
She's the one feeding me all the wrong stuff.
Nothing wrong with that.
Part of me thinks she's trying to sabotage me, so she doesn't feel so bad. So it's not that. So then I got to come back to going, I have to ask myself, like, what's this all for? Why am I doing all of this? Because it's really easy to say, oh, fuck it, right? It's kind of like we've got the dude behind us because he's kind of like that alter ego of mine where it's like, oh, fuck it.
Let's go bowling.
Yeah, fuck it. Let's all go bowling. And that's my default when shit just gets too much, And it's really easy. It's really, really easy to kind of get stuck into that rut. And I've come to I've come to that point where I feel like this is like one of those things that I have control over.
Yeah.
When my life is out of control or when it seems out of control, well, I could always control the way I want to say feel, but when you wake up and you're like, okay, that was a lot of work. You look in the mirror, you're like, well, I did pretty good. And we're not talking about bodybuilding or anything. This is just like
feel good.
This is a normal guy that wants to get him feel good, right? I look at it and I'm like, okay, this right here, if I'm looking good, I'm feeling good, I'm performing better in everything. And so I tell myself that, and it seems to work. And again, like I said, it's like sometimes you just gotta go have a cookie.
Yeah.
You gotta have a donut. You gotta have a slice of pizza. You're only human. But you don't want to do that every day, right?
Sure.
You don't want to have. Here's another Joe Rogan thing that I caught that makes perfect sense to me. And this is, most people look for that mouthfeel, the tasties, the sense of feel good that you get from eating something tasty.
Yeah.
And there's a reason we have that, right? And it comes back from like the early days of evolution where that was a source of energy, as a source of survival. You just didn't have this readily abundant source of calories.
You just go get food anytime you want.
Yeah. So when you were rewarded with that when you found it, and that kind of kept you going. Today we look for that every day with every single meal, and it's made us fat and sick as a result of that. And it's like, it's good to have that mouthfeel and that pleasure every now and then, but you can't do it every day.
Yeah.
If you're having that mouth pleasure every day, you're doing it wrong.
Mouth pleasure.
I know it sounds weird, right? It's like mouth pleasure, like you're getting a blowjob or something, But no, it really comes down to a little bit of discipline and just acknowledging it's like, you can't have sugar and starchy foods every day with every meal. It's going to make you sick.
See, I've gone through periods where I've had a decent diet, but I was also very, very active. Yeah. So I was able to just burn off everything. So now that I haven't been able to do hardly anything for the last few months, I've just put on weight and eating probably less because I just don't have as much of an appetite.
Right.
But going back into climbing, you know, you want to cut out as much extra weight as you can.
Incredibly important.
Taking it up there. Yeah. And also my energy is just like gone because I haven't been, it's like it perpetuates itself, right?
Yeah.
I haven't been doing as much, so I don't have the energy to do as much.
Right.
And that's what I need to
work on your stamina, you know, your endurance. Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking the same thing just yesterday. I was in the shower. I have my shower thoughts. You know? It's like a little meditation, and it's gotten to the point now recently where I feel like, you know, where I was talking about that anger trigger that I was getting. You know, where I was just kind of getting angry at stuff, where I could get 10% through something, and then all of a sudden I get triggered. You know, it's not, you know, and I don't want to come off like I have anger problems. It's just like these little microaggressions, these little frustrations that I get. And it used to be where I had the endurance to kind of like dig through things and kind of work through things and learn more about stuff without getting tired, you know? And recently I've been like, man, it's like I'd go to the gym, and I'm back, luckily, and I'll explain how I got back to the point where I feel like charged and motivated and inspired again to hit the gym hard. But the last few weeks up until like yesterday, I was in a rut. You know, I'd go to the gym, I would do 20 minutes on the Stairmaster, and then I would just feel completely, I wouldn't say hopeless, but, you know, you look around and you have like a set list of things that you need to do. You need to knock out. But then you look around and you see a bunch of people using all those machines that you need to use.
Seems like too much of a hassle.
And you're like, fuck it, let's go. You know, and I've been doing that. You know, I'd go and I'd hit the Stairmaster because nobody uses a Stairmaster. And then I would maybe like fake some exercises that I had to do, and then just get out of there. Yeah. Like I was just getting sick of the place. And that was just a symptom of like something else. Yeah. You know, it wasn't the gym's fault. You know, it was just the fact that I was just getting burned out and tired of doing the same old stuff. And not to mention, I've just been in my own little bubble too. I haven't been out socializing with the right people. And that's kind of what led me to like the next thing. So I was invited to go hang out with some really good friends of mine, very healthy people. When I quit drinking, you know, I quit drinking like 2.5 years ago. Yeah. They were so inspired that they quit drinking because of me, which I never really thought much of. I'm just like, oh, whatever. You know, it's like the 4-minute mile. You see one guy do it, and then you're like, oh, I can do it. Fucking that guy can do it. And but you know, they were like really like hitting that message home. I was like, you know, we've seen what you've done. We've always thought that, you know, I got to have a 12-step program. You got to kind of relinquish your, you know, your weakness to a higher power. You got to be clinically.
Got to get a sponsor.
You know, all of this stuff, and we've seen what you've done, and we were blown away. You know,
just decided to quit.
I just quit. Yeah, I mean, it was hard because when you have kind of I wouldn't say a genetic predisposition, but I got a history of like drug abuse in my family, and there's obviously some undiagnosed oddballs in my family. You know, I feel like okay, the cards are kind of stacked against me there. And I could see myself traveling down a path that wasn't the right direction. Yeah. And some people just don't have that switch, you know. Some people can drink 1 or 2 beverages and that's it. They can turn it off. Yeah. But you know, like me, I could have 2 and then that's it. The switch there's no switch anymore. It's like
we're going until I'm on the floor.
Yeah. We might as well have 12, right? So you have to acknowledge the fact that it is what it is. Yeah. Drinking's not for me. And, but hanging out with them kind of gave me this like, one, I was like, I need to hang out with them more. You know, like these are very positive people. They're really health conscious, really smart. They're just a good vibe, good energy. Yeah. And that inspired me. I was like, oh man, this feels good because, you know, my trainer put out a picture of me on Facebook, like some status report I had given him at like week 8 or something.
I think I've seen it because it says Gene was tagged in a photo.
Oh, I know, right? And I had no idea. And
it's like Gene's posting nudie pictures of himself on Facebook,
right? And everybody's like, you know, I'm getting lots of feedback, you know,
mouth pleasure.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, okay, you know, not a big deal. But that picture was taken like 8 weeks ago, or not 8 weeks ago, like 4 to 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
at week 8. You know, I'm like, man, I'd already kind of fallen off the deep end, given up on, the hardcore routine. I'd been eating too many donuts and I've had some pizza. I've actually been trying to warm up because I'd removed so much fat from my body that we rolled into winter and it's like I'm constantly cold.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, I fucking hate being cold. I need to put some fat back on.
Yeah.
We'll revisit the 6-pack like in the spring.
April.
In April. And, but I got all this feedback from people, and I felt, man,
it motivates you, right?
It was a huge motivator. Yeah, it was almost like people were expecting me to be this way, which kind of felt good. I felt like I had a purpose in a sense, which was really nice.
It makes you feel responsible to something in a way.
Yeah, that was a big thing. So I'm like super stoked again and sticking with it, kind of back onto it. So there was a good lesson there, I think. And I think that's what you need to find, is you need to find, first you start with yourself and you just kind of got to go inward. And you remember when we went to Choice, I mean, I don't know if you remember this, but one of the big things that they had brought up was you have to acknowledge these victories. You got to give yourself credit where credit is due. And if you don't do that, you do end up in this situation where you're constantly living in the future and you're always looking for something that you'll never achieve.
Right. Yeah.
You're just going to always be looking for...
Acknowledge when you've reached the goals, even the small ones.
Yeah, so you're going to enjoy the ride way more if you can create milestones.
Yeah, you can congratulate yourself every once in a while.
Yeah, that's a really hard thing for me. I don't know about you, but I tend to kind of discount that. But
we're always our own worst critic. Well, most people are
our
own
worst enemy. Yeah, big time. And
it's like the thing we were talking about with music. And you listen to yourself, you're always like, it sounds good when you're playing it, and then you listen to it back, and you're like, oh.
I feel like such a failure. Yeah. You're like, I can't believe I suck so bad.
I've been playing for 20 freaking years and I still see
I still can't fucking sing.
Can you believe that we've known each other since 1992?
It's
crazy. That's a long time.
It is. I think you're probably... Yeah, you're the only person I know that... my wife... I don't even know my wife. I don't know. 2001, 2002. I think you got her beat by 10 years almost.
Wow.
Yeah. Fascinating. Well, that's good. I'm glad it's all working out.
I'm going home.
Yeah, we're done.
I'm tired of you.
Yeah. On that note, it's 2 hours.
2 hours?
We hit the 2 hour mark.
That flew by.
Yeah, it was fun. Let's call this quits. How can people find you?
Find me
on the internet.
You can find me at Maxx on the Rocks on Instagram.
On Maxx on the Rocks on Instagram.
Maxx on the Rocks.
Okay, cool.
It's the best way to do it.
Well, I had fun. You have fun?
I had a good time. Yeah. I'm going to see if I can come back next week with some diet improvements.
That's a good start. Yeah. And we're doing this live every Tuesday at 5-ish.
So how can we find you?
You can find me, C12 Gene, on Instagram.
All right.
The Real Gene Morse on Facebook.
I should say at Maxx on the Rocks, there's 2 X's in there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's how you spell my name.
There's like 500 Gene Morses out there.
Yeah.
There's way too many. It's amazing. It kind of blew my mind when I...
Do you find them every time you Google yourself?
Yeah. It's great because I'm not on the front page of Google, which is good. I don't want to be there. But you have like Gene Morse, the spear, like the legendary spear hunter.
Yeah.
And
there's a musician, Gene Morse. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, he's like I know this guy. He lives in Colorado. He works at a Toyota dealership, and he also writes music on the side. It's kind of like us.
There's one other Maxx car in the world spelled the same as mine.
No. Do you know him?
I've talked to him through Facebook, I think, years ago.
Oh, really?
He's like he's younger than me by a few years, but he's like a financial advisor and a tennis player.
That's hilarious. Yeah, there's a sports writer on the East Coast named Gene Morris. Most of these guys, I friend them on Facebook. Yeah, so I can keep in touch with them. They wish me happy birthday. And
see which Gene Morris is doing the best.
Yeah. They wish me happy birthday. I wish them happy birthday. It's funny.
That's cool.
Yeah. But anyway, we're trying really hard to keep up this Tuesdays at 5-ish.
Yeah, that works.
So we're going to keep going. It turns out YouTube is catching on too, because they're starting to send out reminders to people that have subscribed to us.
Cool.
So Evo is like, I just got a reminder that episode 6 was released. So I imagine next Tuesday they'll probably say 7 is released or something. So we'll
I'll
see.
have to update my work scheduler. So I've just been lucky and had this time
hitting
off.
it hard. Yeah. I think it works good. So if we can maintain it, it's probably a good idea. But anyway, okay, let's get out of here. Call it quits.
I bid you adieu.
I bid you adieu. Where's the on off button? There it is. All right, cool. Oh, that was fun. Goes by quicker now, huh?
Yeah, it does.
I gotta piss so bad.
I know, me too. I was like squirming for a while.
All right. We lost our live feed. I bet Eva started streaming something.
Our live feed to what, YouTube?
Yeah. not too long ago, but unfortunately. Here's to talk to Comcast about that.
Are you going upstairs or downstairs?
I can say, you want to go upstairs?
No, I need to pee.
Oh yeah, go. Go. You can go. I'll go upstairs.
Maxx here.
Oh, nice.
Here's the song I've been trying to learn.
Oh, yeah.
For the last 2 days. Like, I'm not going to be able to remember it, probably. I like the guitar part.